Chapter 1327. Refused. Chapter 1327. Refused. In a lofty building of the Dayu Palace. Take a seat. Master of the Dayu Palace said to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang sat down without any hesitation. Although there was still a large gap between himself and the master of the Dayu Palace and Lord Wushuang, the two gods treated him in a very respectful way. Jian Wushuang, I told you that I would give you a recommendation token to the Snow Dojo if you pass the god test. Now, I have decided to take you there myself. Lord Wushuang said. Snow Dojo? Before the inverse cultivation test, Jian Wushuang was eager to go there. But now, it is unnecessary for you to go there, Jian Wushuang, king of venomous worms, told him. Although numerous geniuses gather in the Snow Dojo, the place is actually nothing compared to the eternal chaotic world and lineage of star that you belong to. I recommended you to go there for a period of cultivation before the god test because at that time you were not powerful enough to go to the lineage of star. But now, honestly speaking, if you spend some time cultivating your unique skills, your power can be equal to a peak universe god in the second heaven. Even when you meet with a universe god in the third heaven, you can survive with your power as well as all the tools you have. Therefore, going to the Snow Dojo is a waste of time for you. You can directly head for the lineage of star. Jian Wushuang was surprised by what King of Venomous Worms said. But he also knew that what the Snow Dojo could bring him was limited, and he made a decision. Lord Wushuang, Jian Wushuang said, thank you for your goodwill, but I will not go to the Snow Dojo. Aha! Lord Wushuang frowned, and Master of the Dayu Palace was also surprised. They never expected that Jian Wushuang would turn down their invitation. After all, the Snow Dojo was the dream of many geniuses, including Qingyang Universe God, who failed because Lord Wushuang didn't think he was qualified for the opportunities. Think twice, please, Lord Wushuang said. Though you are talented, you need a good environment, the guidance of other talents, and plenty of resources to help you in the inverse cultivation. Master of the Dayu Palace added, Jian Wushuang, Lord Wushuang seldom provides such a good opportunities to others. And you can also unleash your potential in the Snow Dojo. Don't be too confident about your power. They were both trying to persuade Jian Wushuang. In their opinion, the Snow Dojo was the best choice of Jian Wushuang. But Jian Wushuang told them, smilingly, actually, I am leaving the Dayu universe for the 10 cultivation sanctuaries that I am really long for. The 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Master of the Dayu Palace felt surprised at first, but soon understood. No wonder you are not going to the Snow Dojo. Lord Wushuang smiled. The 10 cultivation sanctuaries are the core of the eternal chaotic world that all cultivators are dreaming of. They are absolutely better than the Snow Dojo. You have great talents and rich potential, even better than many geniuses in the Snow Dojo. So indeed, you'd better go to your dream place. Master of the Dayu Palace said, but not everyone can get there. For example, do you know the route to get there? Jian Wushuang had no idea. After all, it hadn't been long since he left his hometown, the Green Fire World. Even King of Venomous Worms, who was well informed, had no idea. Jian Wushuang asked Master of the Dayu Palace and Lord Wushuang, but they laughed. Although we are privileged in the Snow Kingdom as universe gods in the third heaven, even we've never been to or plan to go to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, which are only a distant legend to us. Okay, Jian Wushuang frowned. How could he go there without know the route? At that time, Lord Wushuang said, but I know a guy who has been to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, and he is in the Snow Dojo. Jian Wushuang was interested. Could you just wait for me for around 10 years and then go with me to the Snow Dojo? I can ask that guy for the route. You don't have to join the Snow Dojo. It's all up to you. Lord Wushuang proposed. After hesitation for a while, Jian Wushuang agreed. Okay, after 10 years, when I and Master of the Dayu Palace have finished our current tasks, I will go to your place. Jian Wushuang nodded. You can stay here in these 10 years, and I can lend you the Little Scattered Stars game for you to study. Thank you very much. Chapter 1328, Depart to Snow Dojo. Chapter 1328, Depart to Snow Dojo. The incident of Jian Wushuang passing through the gods' test stirred a commotion up within Dayu world. All the experts from various forces were surprised. But the hubbub merely lasted for a short period of time until it settled down. For the rest of the time, Jian Wushuang continued to stay in Dayu Palace and resolve the Little Scattered Stars game. In the secret room, Jian Wushuang sat before the Little Scattered Stars game, whilst the 50-second black chess piece slowly dispersed from the chess set. As expected, after becoming Universe God, the speed of me resolving the Little Scattered Stars game is much faster than before. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He was in seclusion for less than 7 days, but he resolved the 50-second move of the Little Scattered Stars game very quickly. One must remember that he spent a few years' time to resolve the 51st step when he was a universe master. Don't think about how fast you can resolve the move. Take your time and accumulate slowly according to the method I taught you. Then you will gain huge rewards, King of Venomous Worms said. Of course, Jian Wushuang smiled. Then he continued to resolve the 53rd move. The time flew past. Another 60 years passed. Done. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and had a smile plastered on his face. On the Little Scattered Stars game before him, the last black chess piece dispersed. There was nothing left on the huge chess set. 60 years from the 51st move, you resolve the 100 moves Little Scattered Stars game. If the master of Dayu Palace and Wushuang were to find out, they might be embarrassed. King of Venomous Worms' voice was heard. Ha! Jian Wushuang laughed. After becoming a universe god, it became easier to resolve the Little Scattered Stars game, and his speed was naturally faster. On top of that, he followed King of Venomous Worms' instruction to accumulate slowly. Hence, there was almost no bottleneck situation later in the game. That's why he could resolve the Little Scattered Stars game entirely in such a short period of time. I originally thought that the Little Scattered Stars game wouldn't be much use after I became a universe god. However, from the way it seems, not only was it useful for me, it's very useful for me. Now that I have resolved the entire game, I have reaped a bumper harvest, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. In the 60 years, his understanding towards the nature of swordsmanship increased tremendously. Then, if he was given time, he could definitely create an even stronger unique skill. Don't panic. Follow Lord Wushuang to Snow Dojo first. On the way, I can slowly digest the accumulated sword principle and then create a unique skill, Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself. Wushuang and the master of the Dayu were done 3 years ago, and they sent a message to Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang was in the last stage of resolving the Little Scattered Stars game then. Hence, he made Wushuang waited for him. When Jian Wushuang left the secret room, he immediately planned to leave with Wushuang. In Dayu world, at the border of the floating land, there was a boundless dark void before them. Wushuang waved. Swoosh! A huge green spaceship appeared from nowhere. Jian Wushuang, let's go. Wushuang appeared first on the green spaceship. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate, leaping onto the Wushuang's spaceship. The green spaceship immediately set off at a terrifying speed and moved towards Snow Dojo. In the dark void, it was total darkness. There was almost no light at all. A green spaceship swept past in the dark void. The speed was far beyond a universe god's ability. In a cabin of the green spaceship, Wushuang sat calmly while he sipped on his wine. He stole glances at Jian Wushuang next to him occasionally. Jian Wushuang is making a painstaking effort for cultivation. From Dayu World to Snow Dojo, based on the speed my spaceship is traveling, we will arrive in 10 years' time. In such a short period of time, he didn't give up cultivation. Wushuang shook his head. However, what Wushuang didn't know was that while 10 years was a short time to himself, Jian Wushuang could improve his power significantly in 10 years, especially considering the fact that he had just completely resolved the Little Scattered Stars game, meaning that there were many accumulated sword principles waiting to be digested. A green spaceship was moving very quickly, but suddenly a conscience abruptly swept over it. Wushuang's facial expression changed, and he bellowed directly, "Whoever you are, move out of my way." His bellow spread through the cabin and echoed in the surrounding void. Many figures were floating hundreds of thousand miles away from the green spaceship. The moment they heard Wushuang bellow, the figures were shocked. "It's a universe god in the third heaven. Hurry up and leave." Without hesitation, the figures immediately ran away. In the cabin, Jian Wushuang was awakened by Wushuang's bellow too. He couldn't help but look over. "Lord Wushuang, what's going on?" "Nothing, only some narrow-minded thieves." Wushuang smiled in disdain. "Thieves? Bandits?" Jian Wushuang looked shocked. He also knew that there were some bandits wandering in the dark void. Those bandits specialized in killing experts that passed by and carried out a deal that couldn't be exposed. As the dark void was really too huge, Snow Kingdom couldn't do anything about the bandits either. Those experts from the world were mostly very careful. In a normal situation, no one dared to wander around the dark void recklessly if they didn't possess a level of power. Of course, as a universe god in the third heaven who was considered the top expert even in Snow Kingdom, he could totally run freely in the dark void. Almost no bandits dared to provoke him. "Jian Wushuang, the bandits you ran into in Snow Kingdom were just child's play. The scariest place with real bandits is the boundless void near the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. That is the place with the most reckless bandits, with the craziest massacres and countless experts' nightmare. Many experts from various kingdoms and worlds died in the boundless void on their way to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. You are going to Lineage of Star, and you will definitely pass by the boundless void. To you, it would also be a challenge. It is also because the boundless void is very dangerous. That's why I wanted you to become stronger before going there," King of Venomous Worms said. The boundless void. Jian Wushuang memorized the name. He turned around and looked at Wushuang. "Lord Wushuang, if you come across bandits again, don't chase them away in a hurry. Let them be my lab rats." "Lab rats?" Wushuang looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. "Previously, when I resolved the Little Scattered Stars game, I came to a realization about sword principles. I have been figuring out ways to create stronger sword principles. Actually, I am really in need of someone to train with me." Jian Wushuang smiled. "Oh, I see." Wushuang smiled. "If so, all right. However, try not to delay too much." "Don't worry, I won't take long." Jian Wushuang smiled. Chapter 1329, Master of Silence Gloriette in the Snow Dojo. Chapter 1329, Master of Silence Gloriette in the Snow Dojo. On the way to the Snow Dojo, Jian Wushuang tried to understand more about the essence of swordsmanship in order to develop more powerful, unique skills. When he occasionally met some bandits, he would fight with them to practice his swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang never missed any opportunity for him to cultivate. And 10 years passed quickly. In front of us is the snow sacred land. Let's go there. Lord Wushuang pointed to a vast floating land. The snow sacred land was the capital of the Snow Kingdom, in which the royal family of the Snow Kingdom, powerful groups, and several large military forces gathered. Jian Wushuang followed Lord Wushuang to the snow sacred land and took a wormhole to the Snow Dojo. The headquarters of the Snow Dojo was a vast, floating building complex with numerous palaces and attics. Thanks to Lord Wushuang, Jian Wushuang entered into the headquarters of the Snow Dojo. They went into a gorgeous palace. Since you aren't a member of the Snow Dojo, it is better for you to stay here, and I will take a chance to ask the route of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries for you. Lord Wushuang said, "Opportunities. Was it so difficult to ask for a route? Maybe Lord Wushuang was going to ask for someone with a higher status." Lord Wushuang explained, "Yes, the person was Master of Silence Gloriette, one of the 3 masters in the Snow Dojo. Master of Silence Gloriette. He has supreme power and unimaginable talents in the Snow Dojo. He can determine my life and death. Although I am a golden deacon in the Snow Dojo, I don't have many opportunities to see him." Lord Wushuang appeared a little bit embarrassed. Jian Wushuang knew why Lord Wushuang was behaving so cautiously. After all, Master of Silence Gloriette was so powerful that he could determine the life and death of Lord Wushuang. Wait here for around half a month until the Master of Silence Gloriette holds a meeting with the Golden Deacons. I will ask him at that time. Jian Wushuang expressed his appreciation. He knew how difficult it was to ask the Master of Silence Gloriette for something. So Lord Wushuang wouldn't help him if he didn't think highly of Jian Wushuang's potential or hope that Jian Wushuang could join the Snow Dojo. The half a month passed quickly. Jian Wushuang stayed at the palace according to Lord Wushuang's word. Lord Wushuang must have met Master of Silence Gloriette, since many golden deacons attended the meeting. Jian Wushuang was curious about how things were going, and Lord Wushuang didn't come back until the night. But he looked worried when coming back. "How is it going?" Jian Wushuang asked Lord Wushuang. Lord Wushuang sighed without answering him immediately. "Is Master of Silence Gloriette annoyed by my request?" "No, I didn't even ask." Lord Wushuang felt sorry. "Why?" "Actually, I planned to ask him today in the meeting, but he was angry today in the meeting and he scolded us, even beating 2 golden deacons. How did I dare to ask him right then?" Lord Wushuang explained. Jian Wushuang understood now. No one dared to ask anything when Master of Silence Gloriette was angry. But why was he so angry? Jian Wushuang asked. "It's all about the ranked battle." Lord Wushuang signed. The ranked battle? Jian Wushuang had never heard about that. Lord Wushuang started to explain. "It's the ranked battle with Universe God Palace. You may have only heard about the Snow Dojo when you were in the Dayu universe, but the Snow Dojo is one of the 2 genius concentration camps in the Snow Kingdom, and the other one is the Universe God Palace. The Snow Dojo and the Universe God Palace were both founded by the royal family of the Snow Kingdom. They were divided and always competing with each other. Every ranked battle is held between the Snow Dojo and the Universe God Palace. The ranked battle is seemingly aimed to facilitate communication among all the talents, but it is in fact a battle to determine the winner." Jian Wushuang nodded. It's understandable that fierce competition rose between two genius concentration camps. So Master of Silence Gloriette got angry for losing the battle. Jian Wushuang asked, "No, the battle will be held in 3 months, but we know the possibility to win is low when comparing their strengths. What is the probability of victory?" "Less than 3/10." Lord Wushuang answered. "The fact is that the Snow Dojo has been defeated 5 times consecutively. Another defeat will be a stigma for us." No wonder Master of Silence Gloriette is so angry. Every leader would get anxious when his team could barely win after failing in the battle for 5 times. At that moment, the worried Lord Wushuang came up with an idea, and he looked at Jian Wushuang. "I know how to ask him." Chapter 1330, Snow Tower. Chapter 1330, Snow Tower. "Which way?" Jian Wushuang looked over. "Very simple. I'll let you join the ranking battle as a Snow Dojo disciple." Wushuang replied. "I'll join the battle." Jian Wushuang was surprised. "This is the best way," Wushuang said. "The ranking battle between Snow Dojo and the Universe God Palace is divided into 3 fights. One between the Universe Gods in the 3rd heaven, one between the Universe Gods in the 2nd heaven, and one between the Universe Gods in the 1st heaven. The party who wins 2 fights out of the 3 will be the final winner. Then we will be able to compete with the comprehensive level of disciples from Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace." Among the 3 ranking fights in this session, Snow Dojo only has a higher winning chance in the fight between the Universe Gods in the 3rd heaven. The other 2 fights have a lower chance of winning. But if you were to join the fight between Universe Gods in the 1st heaven as Snow Dojo's disciple, you'd definitely win. Then, Snow Dojo would be able to win 2 fights and be the victor of the ranking battle. The Master of Silence Gloriette would definitely be thrilled. At that point, I'll ask him on your behalf regarding the route to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. It'll be much easier. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows when he heard Wushuang's suggestion. He thought Wushuang's idea was great, but as a prerequisite, he still had to join Snow Dojo. Although he was confident with himself, it wasn't necessary that he would win if he joined the ranking battle. "Jian Wushuang, you don't have to worry so much. The experts in Snow Dojo are free and not restrained much. Even if you join Snow Dojo, it's your own decision as to whether you want to stay or leave. No one will force you into anything. Once you complete the ranking battle and obtain your travel route, you can leave straight away. No one will comment much. Plus, if you were to win a victory for Snow Dojo in the ranking battle, you would get an opportunity to go to Tian Yuan Mystery Land." Wushuang added. "Tian Yuan Mystery Land." Jian Wushuang stunned. "It's one of the sites of opportunity in Snow Kingdom. In the past, only experts from Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace were qualified to enter. Plus, the ranking battle only takes place every 10,000 years because mysterious Tian Yuan only opens once every 10,000 years. Every time it opens, it is limited to a quota of 30 people. The quota will be based on the winning and losing of ranking battles. If Snow Dojo were to win the ranking battle, the 30 quotas would be Snow Dojo's. On the contrary, if Universe God Palace won, the 30 quotas would be theirs. In the past, whenever Snow Dojo won the battle, the 30 quotas would be passed to 30 experts that participated in the ranking battle. By then, of course, you would be one of them, Wushuang explained. "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang sighed. "Jian Wushuang, this is the best method. You will help Snow Dojo to win the ranking battle, and Snow Dojo will provide you with the travel route to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. On top of that, you will be rewarded with a chance to enter Tian Yuan Mystery Land. This is something that satisfies both parties," Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang was left speechless. He then nodded faintly. All right, I'll take it. That's great. Wushuang was beaming with joy. He was very clear about Jian Wushuang's power. As Jian Wushuang agreed to participate in the fight between universe gods in the first heaven, that particular fight would have a 99% winning rate. Jian Wushuang, follow me. Then Wushuang led Jian Wushuang out from the hall. Snow Dojo was an expert concentration camp in Snow Kingdom. Whoever could enter Snow Dojo were all experts. No one would be just ordinary. For instance, universe god Qingyang, who died at Jian Wushuang's hand. When he was in Dayu World, he was once known as the top expert in Dayu World. But in Snow Dojo, he was at the bottom, or maybe he didn't even qualify to be at the bottom. Plus, to join Snow Dojo, one naturally had to undergo a filtering process. Jian Wushuang had the recommendation of Wushuang, who was a golden-dressed deacon. Hence, he could skip the process of filtration. However, he would still be required to go through the last procedure. Wushuang brought Jian Wushuang to a black tall tower. In front of the black tall tower, there was a drunk elderly with messy hair. Old Lu, Wushuang bowed politely at the drunk elderly. The drunk elderly lifted his eyes and looked at Wushuang and Jian Wushuang. He then said slowly, "It's you, Wushuang. Who is this next to you?" "This is someone I got to know earlier. I saw that he was quite talented, so I brought him to Snow Dojo for him to try Snow Tower." Wushuang said humbly. "Is he?" The drunk elderly nodded and waved. "There's no one in Snow Tower. Just go ahead." "Thank you," Wushuang replied, and turned to Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, go ahead. There are 10 levels in total. The moment you passes through the 7th level, you're considered to have passed. Then you can join Snow Dojo." "The 7th?" Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he walked towards Snow Tower. Jian Wushuang entered Snow Tower while Wushuang waited patiently outside. 10 floors in Snow Tower. I think Jian Wushuang could go all the way to the 10th floor with his power. Wushuang smiled faintly. Just then, swoosh, swoosh, there were 2 figures that descended before Snow Tower, one after another. Wushuang looked over. His pupils contracted when he saw someone visiting. "Wushuang, what are you doing here?" A fairly unfriendly voice was heard. The one who spoke was a purple-haired elderly who was walking at the front. "I'm waiting for someone." Wushuang looked cold. "Who are you waiting for?" The purple-haired elderly stopped before Wushuang. "I got to know someone when I was wandering outside. He's not in Snow Tower," Wushuang answered. "Oh, such a coincidence. I happen to know an expert on my way to a mission too. I brought him back to challenge Snow Tower too," the purple-haired elderly said. "Wu Chao, what do you mean?" Wushuang's face grew grave. "Nothing. Why are you so angry? We are both golden-dressed deacons. You can bring someone over, but I can't." The purple-haired elderly snorted. "I have no time to deal with your nonsense." Wushuang turned around and didn't bother looking at the purple-haired elderly anymore. The purple-haired elderly pouted but kept quiet. Soon, Jian Wushuang came out from Snow Tower. The moment he exited Snow Tower, the drunkard at the entrance passed Jian Wushuang a token. Jian Wushuang took over the token and walked towards Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, is everything okay?" Wushuang quickly asked. "Yeah," Jian Wushuang nodded. "How many levels did you pass?" Wushuang asked curiously. Chapter 1331, The Last Permission for the Battle. Chapter 1331, The Last Permission for the Battle. Wu Chao also looked at Jian Wushuang, waiting for the answer. He was also interested in the man recommended by Jian Wushuang. "The 7th level," Jian Wushuang answered. "7th, Lord Wushuang was surprised. He had expected Jian Wushuang to pass all the 10 levels based on his power. But soon he realized that Jian Wushuang didn't make full efforts. Jian Wushuang just intended to pass the test. Wu Chao sneered. 7th, only the minimum standard for joining the Snow Dojo. It seems that the talent you recommend just has a mediocre performance. What about the talent you bring here? Lord Wushuang asked indifferently. Wu Chao looked at the silent man standing behind him. Show your capability, Dong Ao. Yes, master. The man nodded and went to the snow tower, without a glance at Jian Wushuang. I don't want to waste my time here. Let's go, Jian Wushuang. Lord Wushuang then left with Jian Wushuang. Wu Chao sneered and let them go. Who is that man? It seems that you don't like him. Jian Wushuang asked Lord Wushuang. He is Wu Chao, another golden deacon. We have been competing with each other for the past few years. What Jian Wushuang had guessed was confirmed. Let's go and meet the chief deacon. Lord Wushuang led Jian Wushuang to an attic and came to a lady in green. Though the lady looked tender, Jian Wushuang could feel with his soul power that she was actually more powerful than Lord Wushuang. Obviously, she was the chief deacon of the Snow Dojo. Deacon Green, this is Jian Wushuang, who passed the test of the Snow Tower. I bring him here to apply for permission for him to join the ranked battle of universe gods in the first heaven. Lord Wushuang said directly his intention. You also want permission? Deacon Green frowned. Is there anyone else who also wants permission? Lord Wushuang was surprised. Wu Chao has sent messages to me to apply for the permission. Deacon Green said. Why does he want that? Lord Wushuang was angry. Now I will call him to come here to discuss. Deacon Green said. After a while, Wu Chao came with the talent Dong Ao. Wu Chao and Dong Ao were still indifferent when he met Lord Wushuang and Jian Wushuang. Okay, let's talk and decide who can get permission. Deacon Green analyzed. There will be 3 ranked battles after 3 months. 10 universe gods in each heaven will go to the battles. As for universe gods from the first heaven, 9 of them have been decided, and there is only 1 left. Who can get permission? Of course, Jian Wushuang. Lord Wushuang said, only he can absolutely win in the battle. Don't be so arrogant. How many levels has Jian Wushuang passed in the Snow Tower? Wu Chao asked. The 7th. Wu Chao sneered. How could he have the privilege to join the battle when he has only passed 7 levels? Guess how many levels Dong Ao passed? 8. And he nearly passed the 9th. So it's obvious that Dong Ao is more suitable. Even Deacon Green was surprised that Dong Ao almost passed 9 levels. After all, it was more difficult in higher levels. Less than 5 universe gods could pass the 9th level, and they would join in the battles. Just testing in the Snow Tower couldn't prove anything. Okay, shut up, Deacon Green said, to stop them from quarreling. Do you know how important the rank battle is? The reputation of Snow Dojo would be ruined if we lose again. Deacon Green said emotionally. Her voice was resounding around the palace. And Lord Wushuang and Wu Chao fell silent. Okay, so let the 2 talents battle to decide who permission belongs to. It's a simple method. Do you agree? Both Lord Wushuang and Wu Chao nodded. Jian Wushuang didn't show disapproval, and Dong Ao still glanced at Jian Wushuang indifferently. He thought only a universe god passing 7 levels was worth no attention of his. There was a boundless square in the Snow Dojo, and talents used to gather there to battle. Jian Wushuang and Doing Ao came to the center of the square. Other talents also came here to watch him battle. Among them there was a slender and handsome man named Long Hao. Long Hao, you are the leader of the universe gods of the first heaven. Watch their battle and decide which one is more suitable to join your team in the battle. Yes, Deacon. Long Hao nodded. Chapter 1332, Jian Wushuang versus Dong Ao. Chapter 1332, Jian Wushuang versus Dong Ao. The two of you can start now, Master Qing instructed. Jian Wushuang and Dong Ao walked towards the middle of the drill ground. Jian Wushuang, Wu Tsong spoke. When you go into Snow Tower, you are only required to reach the 7th floor, and you don't need to worry about it. But now, you have to take this seriously. Don't worry, I know, Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Jian Wushuang and Dong Ao stood in the middle of the drill ground and faced each other in a short distance. Dong Ao had a frosty look, and he gazed at Jian Wushuang. He lowered his voice and said, "You go ahead first. Give me your all. Otherwise, you might not stand a chance." "You're pretty confident." Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. The Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. "I'd like to see where your confidence derives from." Jian Wushuang took action straight away. A flowing light suddenly flashed. Then Jian Wushuang stood before Dong Ao and stroked with Blood Mountain sword. Although the stroke looked like it was performed casually, it felt like it could actually tear the world. The divine power that Jian Wushuang let out was merely the level of a peak universe god in the first heaven. However, through Blood Mountain sword, it was a notch stronger than an ordinary peak universe god in the first heaven. Looking at the attack of the sword light, Dong Ao's gaze turned cold, and he took a step forward. The moment he took a step forward, the saber that he was carrying behind his back was suddenly withdrawn simultaneously. Cling clang. The saber light was like a wave lapping at Jian Wushuang. There was a cloud of gray mist that soared up from Dong Ao. His image suddenly became very blurry. Dang, dang, dang. The continuous metal clashing noise was heard, and Jian Wushuang's figure was forced to move 3 steps back. "This strength, you're not weak, huh?" Jian Wushuang lifted his eyebrows. "It's a secret skill." The gray mist that covered his body strengthened the explosion of his divine power. Buzz! A fierce blade suddenly raised, and Dong Ao's gaze turned cold. The gray mist on his body suddenly increased, and his divine body increased in size too. He looked as though he had turned into a brown bear, and there was a terrifying hostility. "Wow!" Dong Ao slashed his saber down. A shadow that covered half the sky appeared from nowhere. The shadow contained an imposing power, and the disciples from Snow Dojo were surprised. A rank 2 unique skill. Although it's only a beginner rank 2, it's not too shabby. Some disciples were discussing among themselves. For a peak universe god in the first heaven to create a rank 2 unique skill, it would definitely stir a commotion elsewhere in other worlds. However, in Snow Dojo, where experts gathered, for a universe god in the first heaven to create a rank 2 unique skill was nothing. There were at least a dozen universe gods in the first heaven in the Snow Dojo who had created rank 2 unique skill after all. At the same time as Dong Ao wielded his saber and put his rank 2 unique skill to play, Jian Wushuang swung his sword and performed a rank 2 unique skill too. Test Wrecker. Bang! There was a loud thud, and the ground suddenly cracked and shattered. Jian Wushuang was pushed back by the impact once again. He wasn't just forced backwards, but actually flew off. Only after a while, he regained stability. As expected, you who merely reached the 7th floor of Snow Tower are only at this level of power. Dong Ao stood there with his saber as he spoke in a disdainful manner. by the side, Wu Chao saw, and he couldn't help but look at Wu Tsang in disdain, and smiled coldly. Wu Tsang, this is the genius who you were talking about earlier? The one who can win victory for Snow Dojo in the ranking battle? Stop joking. The battle has yet to end. Why are you in a hurry? Wu Tsang snorted, but he wasn't panicking at all. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang heard Dong Ao's disdain and taunting words. His pupils contracted as he said, "At first, I wanted to experiment with a few new unique skills on you. But as you said that, let's end the battle straight away." Jian Wushuang didn't plan to continue fooling around with Dong Ao, but took action directly. Swoosh! It was the same situation. A flowing light plundered and appeared before Dong Ao. Then he wielded his sword. That stroke was a simple lift to the air, a simple and casual stroke. Funny, Dong Ao didn't bother with Jian Wushuang. When he saw Jian Wushuang charging towards him, he wanted to raise his saber again. Buzz! The sword light appeared with a faint whistle of the sword. Dong Ao shook, and he stunned on the spot. Pissed, an arm and a fiery redness flew out. Jian Wushuang stopped behind Dong Ao, and he slowly tucked Blood Mountain sword into its scabbard. Dong Ao finally came back to reality, and he suddenly glared. His eyes were filled with terror and rage. He realized that his right arm was chopped off. It was because Jian Wushuang showed mercy. Otherwise, that stroke could totally chop off his head. Impossible. I refuse to accept the result. It is merely because I'm careless and I didn't defend you. Hence, your surprise attack succeeded. Dong Ao bellowed. Jian Wushuang, let's do this again. Again. Jian Wushuang turned around and looked at Dong Ao. In his eyes, there was a flash of disdain. By the side, Wu Tsang chuckled sneeringly. Wu Chao, this is the genius that you brought. This kind of quality, he lost. If Jian Wushuang didn't show mercy, he would be dead by now. And he's shameless enough to ask Jian Wushuang for a rematch? Ha ha. Wu Chao's face grew grave, especially when he heard Dong Ao throwing a tantrum. He felt even more embarrassed. Idiot, get down. Wu Chao shouted. I refuse. Dong Ao stared at Jian Wushuang. He was really unwilling to accept the outcome. He thought Jian Wushuang had merely defeated him by a surprise attack because he was not paying attention. However, no matter how unhappy he was with the result, he had lost. No one pitied him. Jian Wushuang wouldn't do a rematch with him. He had no choice but to leave. Long Hao, you watched the two battles. Do you have a decision? Master Qing looked at Long Hao. Yes. Long Hao nodded and smiled. The battle earlier, Jian Wushuang was originally at disadvantage. However, he could defeat Dong Ao directly in the end because he performed a consciousness attack. It was a very fierce consciousness attack. Even Dong Ao, who was a peak universe god in the first heaven, couldn't resist. Such an impressive consciousness attack is rare to come by. Long Hao was telling the truth. A consciousness attack wasn't something rated. Most cultivators could perform the trick, but to be able to perform didn't mean one was an expert at it. In the eternal chaotic world, only very few people specialized in consciousness attacks or other similar magic tricks. Only those who were experts in it could perform such fierce consciousness attacks, and Jian Wushuang was obviously one of them. Chapter 1333. The ranked battle began. Chapter 1333. The ranked battle began. None of the 9 universe gods in the first heaven, including me, is good at conscious attacks, and Jian Wushuang, whether powerful or not, can help us a lot. Long Hao said, Then, Jian Wushuang, you should make a full preparation in the next 3 months and join in the ranked battle with Long Hao. Don't lose the battle. Deacon Green said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Jian Wushuang, we can communicate frequently together to enhance mutual understanding so that you can cooperate well in the battle. Longhao said to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang also nodded. Other talents went back when they knew who the last permission for the battle belonged to. And Wu Chao left with Dong Ao disappointedly. Jian Wushuang and Lord Wu Tsang also went back. Jian Wushuang, you always keep a low profile about your power. Lord Wu Tsang said. I won't stay in the snow dojo for too long, and I just have to get what I want. It is unnecessary for me to display what I really have. Jian Wushuang shook his head. That's good, but please make full efforts in the battle. After all, universe gods in the snow dojo still lag behind those in the universe god palace. If you don't give a hand, we will definitely lose, Lord Wu Tsang said embarrassedly. Yes, I know how to manage it. Good. And Lord Wu Tsang didn't continue. In the next 3 months, Jian Wushuang attended the training with other battle participants and exchanged ideas with them. When someone invited him to battle together, he seldom refused, but he never showed his true power. He had always kept a low profile in the snow dojo. One of the reasons was that he didn't want leaders in the snow dojo to know his power and keep him in the dojo. 3 months soon passed, and the ranked battle began. The battle between the snow dojo and the universe god palace, the two well-known genius concentration camps, was certainly attractive. The boundless battlefield was crowded with numerous talents. Many privileged and powerful families and tribes had all come here to watch the battle. There were 2 thrones at the grandstand of the battlefield, on which 2 gods sat. One of them was an elderly god with a red robe and red hair. He was calm but awesome, as if he could burn everything in the heaven. The other one was with short black hair and a cool face, with eyes gleaming with black light. Whoever sat beside him felt as if he was also in the middle of a black hole. So horrible. So awesome they are. Even Jian Wushuang was shocked by their presence. Their aura is much stronger than the universe gods. So I guess they have already surpassed the level of universe gods. Jian Wushuang said quietly. Exactly. King of venomous worms in Jian Wushuang's body said. They have already surpassed the level of universe gods and reached a brand new level which belongs to the eternal chaotic world. They are the real experts in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, though they are still not the top ones and far less powerful than King Luozhen and the creator of the lineage of Star. But they are still powerful enough to kill me easily, Jian Wushuang said with self-mockery. Jian Wushuang. Lord Wu Tsang pointed at the elderly man with the strong aura like black holes and said, he is master of silence Gloriette, and only he knows the route to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Jian Wushuang nodded. On the grandstand, Master of Silence Gloriette was chatting with the red-haired elderly. I think it is no longer necessary to hold the ranked battle if you guys lose again this time. We have won 5 times consecutively, and you guys are too weak to be opponents, the red-haired elderly said indifferently. Master of Silence Gloriette snorted. Nonsense! We will be the winners this time. You seem confident. The red-haired elderly smiled. Of course. But you were also confident last time, but your snow dojo won nothing in the last 3 rounds. The taunt from the red-haired elderly was obvious. Master of Silence Gloriette got angry. If we don't win this time, I will kill all the golden deacons, and he glanced at Deacon Green on his side. Go and bring all the golden deacons here. Yes, my majesty. Deacon Green followed his order. Jian Wushuang, Master of Silence Gloriette, asks us to go there. So just follow Longhao and make a good preparation. Lord Wushuang said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. The highly anticipated ranked battle was around the corner. The first round of the battle was between the most powerful talents, universe gods of the third heaven. 10 participants from each team all went to the center of the battlefield. There was a huge wormhole in the center. Begin. As Master of Silence, Gloriette announced the battle starting, the universe gods of the third heaven from both the Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace all went into the wormhole. Chapter 1334. 1 win and 1 defeat. Chapter 1334. 1 win and 1 defeat. When those universe god in the third heaven entered the wormhole, Virum, in the void in the middle of the training field, there was a huge mirror image that appeared in the air. The mirror image contained countless frames that showed every corner of the mountain rock world where the ranking battle would take place. No matter where the battle was going to take place in Mountain Rock World, they would be able to watch clearly through the mirror image. It's starting. Many experts in the training field were getting excited. Jian Wushuang, too, lifted his head to watch the mirror image. He noticed that after the universe gods in the third heaven from both parties entered the wormhole, they were scattered in various corners in Mountain Rock World. The rule of the ranking battle was simple, which was for the 2 parties to fight against each other in Mountain Rock World. Because the Mountain Rock World itself was a Gnosis treasure, even if one were to be killed within Mountain Rock World, he wouldn't be dead, but only be sent out from Mountain Rock World. Hence, the geniuses from both parties could fight without inhibition. They could fight until all the geniuses from the opposite party were eliminated. Besides, Mountain Rock World was a spacious world. With only 20 geniuses fighting in it, it would require a few days' time to determine the victory and defeat. However, the geniuses from both parties would choose a meeting place ahead of time so that they could gather all scattered geniuses together and kill the geniuses from the other party who was alone. In turn, they would gain an advantageous position. In the image, Jian Wushuang saw the geniuses in the third heaven from both parties were taking action. Listen up. When the third ranking battle begins after we enter Mountain Rock World, no matter where you are, you must rush to the blood-fire pinnacle straightaway with the fastest speed. Understand? Long Hao pointed at a lofty pinnacle in the image and exhorted. Understood. The surrounding universe gods in the first heaven nodded simultaneously. Bloodfire pinnacle? Jian Wushuang memorized it. At the beginning, the geniuses were scattered further away in Mountain Rock World, and it was rather calm. However, the tranquility was only sustained for a while until the fight began. The geniuses from both parties started fighting without hesitation the moment they met. Look, it's Senior Chinfeng. He killed an enemy all by himself. The one he killed from Universe God Palace is quite famous, but he couldn't even run away from Senior Chinfeng. He lives up to his reputation as the strongest among universe gods in the third heaven in Snow Dojo. He is really impressive. Jian Wushuang stayed among the geniuses from Snow Dojo as he listened to the discussion and exclamation of the surrounding geniuses. Chinfeng? Jian Wushuang looked at another image. In the image, Chinfeng killed and eliminated a universe god in the third heaven from Universe God Palace. It was the first time Jian Wushuang saw universe gods in the third heaven fight, and they were all real geniuses. Hence, he was all excited too. Lord Wushuang said that Snow Dojo has a high chance of winning in the ranking battle amongst universe gods in the third heaven. The reason it was highly likely was because of Chinfeng. He seemed to be the top person amongst the universe gods in the third heaven in Snow Dojo, Jian Wushuang complimented. Then, the fight between the 2 parties became even more ferocious. Jian Wushuang paid full attention as he watched. The time flew past. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The ranking battle was finally over. Won. We won. Ha! 3 ranking battles, and we, Snow Dojo, took first. The disciples from Snow Dojo were extremely happy. The final winner for the first ranking battle was Snow Dojo. Although it was rather complicated and tough, Snow Dojo won in the end. Of course, Jian Wushuang could tell that they won the ranking battle, most likely because of Lingfeng. He was too powerful. In the final battle, he held back 2 major universe gods in the 3rd heaven from Universe God Palace. The Master of Silence, Gloriette, revealed a hearty smile on the stand. Luckily, there wasn't any incidents in the first ranking battle. Lingfeng from your Snow Dojo is really powerful. No one from my Universe God Palace could be evenly matched with him. It's well within expectation that you would win this battle. The red-haired elderly smiled, faintly. He looked like he was unconcerned. Before the ranking battle started, both Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace gathered news silently. Hence, both parties were well informed. Universe God Palace knew long ago that they didn't have a high chance of winning for the first ranking battle. Hence, the red-haired elderly naturally didn't care. However, your Snow Dojo could only do well in the first ranking battle. For the following 2nd and 3rd ranking battle, I reckon you wouldn't stand a chance. The red-haired elderly smiled as he added, "Is that so? We shall see." The Master of Silence, Gloriette, snorted. Soon after the first ranking battle ended, the 2nd ranking battle started. The 2nd ranking battle was among the universe gods in the 2nd heaven. Similar to the first battle, 10 universe gods in the 2nd heaven from both parties entered into Mountain Rock World directly and started fighting against each other. Just as the red-haired elderly had predicted, because of Lingfeng's existence in the first ranking battle, the geniuses from Universe God Palace lost in the end, even though they were indomitable. However, in the 2nd ranking battle, none of the 10 representatives from Snow Dojo was an expert like Lingfeng. On the contrary, there were 3 among the representatives from Universe God Palace who possessed the power of a universe god in the 3rd heaven. Their overall power was far stronger than Snow Dojo. Hence, for that round of ranking battle, from the beginning till the end, the situation was one-sided. It only took 2 days for the battle to end, and there was no space for struggle either. When the ranking battle ended, Universe God Palace had 8 universe gods left standing. Only 2 were eliminated. Rubbish. A bunch of rubbish. On the stand, there was rage burning in the Master of Silence, Gloriette's eyes. His rage spilled over to a group of golden-dressed deacons behind him. The golden-dressed deacons, including Wushuang, were all trembling in fear. They knew that they lost the 2nd ranking battle, and both parties were tied. So, they definitely couldn't lose the 3rd ranking battle. The Master of Silence, Gloriette, would definitely be in a violent rage if they were to lose. By then, all of them would be suffering. Luckily, in the final battle, there's Jian Wushuang. "We shouldn't lose," Wushuang mumbled to comfort himself. He had seen Jian Wushuang's power with his own eyes. Hence, he was naturally confident in Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1335, The Poor Confused Guy. Chapter 1335, The Poor Confused Guy. The last round of the battle, also the most important one, was the battle between the universe gods in the 1st heaven. All eyes were on the participants from both teams. Among them there was Jian Wushuang, who deliberately controlled his aura to avoid attention. Only Lord Wushuang and Dong Ao were looking at him. Dong Ao stared at Jian Wushuang angrily, tightly holding his hands. He could accept the fact that he was defeated by Jian Wushuang. He still believed that he was defeated because of his carelessness over Jian Wushuang's conscious attack. "I am now watching how you will be defeated in the battle." Dong Ao murmured with hatred brewing in his mind. At the center of the battlefield, 20 talents from the two teams stood side by side. See you again, Long Hao. The voice came from the young man in the black robe. He was the genius in Universe God Palace. Lu Qing. Long Hao was surprised. Are you going to invite the insult this time? The young man in black said to Long Hao, since last ranked battle Long Hao was defeated. That was the story 10,000 years ago. This time, I will win. Long Hao said. Okay, I will wait and see. Lu Qing snorted. Round 3 starts. The red-haired elderly announced. Go. Talents from the two team went through the wormhole and entered into the mountain rock world without any hesitation. The third round had now started. Bang! Jian Wushuang went into a forest. The forest was luxuriant and vibrant. As he came here, Jian Wushuang started to look around. Long Hao told me to go to the Blood Fire Pinnacle immediately after arriving at the Mountain Rock World. But where is the Blood Fire Pinnacle? Jian Wushuang frowned, and he realized he could only remember fragmented parts in the Mountain Rock World when he watched the precious 2 rounds. But he couldn't connect them together, and he now had no idea of routes in this Mountain Rock World. He didn't even know his own location. But I feel that the Blood Fire Pinnacle is in this direction, and Jian Wushuang followed his intuition. In the battlefield, everyone was watching the third round. A participant had already met his opponent and started to fight, and soon a result was concluded. One talent from the Snow Dojo was already out. Well, unfortunately, he met Lu Qing and didn't even have a chance to escape. In terms of overall strength, participants from the Snow Dojo were weaker than those from the Universe God Palace. And now, with one out, the Snow Dojo was in a harder situation. Talents signed for the unfortunate Snow Dojo. Master of Silence Gloriette seemed worried. After a day, the Snow Dojo almost lost its member. But at the crucial moment, Long Hao came here to kill 2 rivals from the Universe God Palace, or 4 talents from the Snow Dojo would die. But 2 participants from the Snow Dojo were severely injured, though they didn't die. Spectators were holding a heated discussion of the battle. Until now, 2 talents from each team were out and 2 from the Snow Dojo were severely injured. The Snow Dojo lagged behind. Snow Dojo must come up with a solution or it will be doomed to fail. But they cooperate well with each other. All talents from the Snow Dojo are now coming toward the Blood Fire Pinnacle so that they can fight together against their opponents who were alone. There is still hope. Ha ha ha, look here. Who is that guy carrying a sword? Is he from the Snow Dojo? What is he doing? Someone found Jian Wushuang and laughed. And others all started to pay attention to him. It looked funny. Why does he go to the Dark Sea when others were fighting fiercely? The Dark Sea is the margin of the Mountain Rock World. Is he hiding there? Ha ha, poor guy, he looks confused. Everyone was laughing. Talents from the Universe God Palace laughed recklessly, but those from the Universe God Palace looked worried and ashamed. Why did Jian Wushuang go to the Dark Sea when others were fighting fiercely? What is happening? Master of Silence, Gloriette, tightly clenched his hands and looked horribly angry. All Golden Deacon behind him were also surprised, especially Lord Wushuang. The poor confused guy was exactly like Jian Wushuang. What the hell is he doing? Lord Wushuang got angry, but after a while he analyzed that maybe Jian Wushuang had lost his way and didn't know the direction of the Blood Fire Pinnacle. Suddenly, something occurred to Lord Wushuang. Oh my God! He just entered into the Snow Dojo and was unfamiliar with Mountain Rock World, and I forgot to give him a map. At this moment, Master of Silence Gloriette stared at Lord Wushuang angrily. I hear that it's you that recommend the guy in the dark sea into the snow dojo, right? Master of Silence Gloriette asked. If we lose this time, I will kill you. Master of Silence Gloriette told Lord Wushuang. Chapter 1336, finally made it. Chapter 1336, finally made it. Humph, you'd better be praying that we, Snow Dojo, will win this ranking battle. Otherwise, I will tear off your skin. Wushuang heard the Master of Silence Gloriette's raging voice, and he trembled. He wore an anguished look as he thought, Jian Wushuang, you are getting me into trouble. Next to Wushuang was Wu Chao, who was always competing with him. He laughed mischievously. Humph, didn't you want Jian Wushuang to join the battle back then? Now, I shall see how you take care of this. Among the people in the training field, Dong Ao looked extremely sullen and said, Jian Wushuang, if you were to continue to lose, I shall see how you are going to die when the ranking battle ends. Jian Wushuang had already arrived at the Dark Sea, and he noticed that something wasn't right. This sea seems to be the border of Mountain Rock World. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Although he wasn't familiar with Mountain Rock World, when he was watching the two ranking battles earlier, he saw the sea from the images. The geniuses from both parties never came here in every battle. I think I took the wrong way. Jian Wushuang clicked his tongue and turned around to walk back. I hope I can reach it in time. Jian Wushuang felt helpless too. In Mountain Rock World, both parties were having a ferocious fight. However, the winning balance was tipping over Universe God Palace all the time. Sigh, Snow Dojo is going to lose. Even Long Hao was injured. He is quite badly injured, and it'll be difficult for him to recover. There seems to be no struggle point for Snow Dojo. Look, Universe God Palace is approaching. The final battle is going to begin. Before everyone's gaze, in one of the images, there were 7 representatives from Universe God Palace who were alive. They were meeting up with Snow Dojo's representatives. There were only 5 representatives from Snow Dojo who had gathered there. The other 4 were eliminated, while Jian Wushuang had yet to reach there. Among the 5 representatives, 3 were severely injured. That included Long Hao, who was the strongest of all. On the other hand, Universe God Palace maintained their team pretty well. There were still 7 of them left. Their power was too vastly different. Don't give up. We can hold them back by using a strong formation until Long Hao recovers completely. We still have a chance. The few geniuses from Snow Dojo kept pressing even though they were at such a disadvantage. They didn't intend to give up. Among the 5 geniuses, there was one who was an expert in formation. He immediately set up a formation, and they continued to fight against the representative from Universe God Palace with the aid of power derived from the formation. But the sight looked just like they were fighting desperately, like a cornered wild beast. Ha, Long Hao, you still don't want to give up at such state. A burst of taunting laughter was heard from outside the formation. The one who spoke was Lu Qing from Universe God Palace. From the previous ranking battle, you were defeated by me. This time, you will be heavily defeated. You don't stand a chance. The few geniuses from Universe God Palace were beaming with joy. Under Lu Qing's lead, they suppressed the formation, and it was going to be routed soon. Once the formation was routed, the remaining geniuses would fight face to face. Then, Snow Dojo would definitely be trounced. Just then, there was a figure that appeared in the sky. Oh, the lost guy is finally on the battlefield. He's finally here. But he's too late. The die is cast. Snow Dojo doesn't stand a chance. Even if the little guy came here in time, it wouldn't be much help to Snow Dojo. Including this session of ranking battle that Universe God Palace won, we are in a winning streak of 6 battles. TSK, TSK. Everyone on the training field complimented. Jian Wushuang, who appeared at the border of the battlefield in the image, saw the situation of the battlefield. Luckily, although I'm a little late, I got here in time. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, and Blood Mountain sword immediately appeared in his hand. He was clear with the situation of the battlefield before his eyes. He knew that the geniuses from Snow Dojo couldn't hold on any longer. At such a crucial moment, he had to take action. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang moved towards the battlefield before him like a flowing light. The geniuses from both parties noticed his arrival that instant as well. It's Jian Wushuang. It's him. He only came to meet us now. The few geniuses from Snow Dojo was burning with rage. They didn't see Jian Wushuang during the meeting at Bloodfire Pinnacle earlier, and they thought Jian Wushuang was killed and eliminated by the people from Universe God Palace on his way there. But then they realized that Jian Wushuang was still surviving in Mountain Rock World. If he wasn't eliminated, why didn't he meet us earlier? Forget it. Better late than never. Longhouse sighed and shouted, "Quick, Jian Wushuang, come into the formation. Work together to resist Universe God Palace's attack. Wait till I recover to my peak. We still stand a chance." Jian Wushuang, hurry up. The other geniuses from Snow Dojo shouted too. When Jian Wushuang heard Longhouse shouting, his pupils contracted, and he quickly thought. The very next moment, he didn't reply to Longhouse and the rest, nor did he enter the formation. He wielded the Blood Mountain sword and charged towards the 7 geniuses from Universe God Palace. That sight astonished Longhouse and the rest. On the training field outside Mountain Rock World, everyone saw Jian Wushuang's movement, and they were all shocked. Then, it was followed by a roar of laughter. This boy is really silly, huh? According to the situation now, if he were to enter the formation to resist the attack together, as Longhouse said, they might really stand a chance. Who knew that the guy would charge towards the geniuses from Universe God Palace alone? He was already lost before, to the point where he got to the Dark Sea. Now that he finally made it in time to the final battle, he looks even more lost. Many spectators were entertained with Jian Wushuang's movement. On the stand, the Master of Silence Gloriette's face grew grave. An unusually terrifying aura was spiraling around him, and he was still holding it back before it exploded entirely. The other experts from Snow Dojo looked extremely embarrassed too. On the battlefield in Mountain Rock World, those geniuses from Universe God Palace saw Jian Wushuang charged towards them alone. The 7 geniuses found it strange too. Who knew there would be a fish out of the net? Who the hell is this? Why haven't I seen him before? Who cares? If he has a death wish, grant it to him. Kill him. The 7 geniuses from Universe God Palace locked into their target, Jian Wushuang. Just as they prepared to take action, Jian Wushuang, who came before them, suddenly wielded his sword. Chapter 1337. Jian Wushuang's divine power exploded. Chapter 1337. Jian Wushuang's divine power exploded. Bang! With a flash of light, Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship was like a brisk autumn wind flying across the heavens without any trail. The 7 rivals who had been ready to kill Jian Wushuang were all shocked by his swordsmanship. As the autumn wind dissipated, Jian Wushuang's figure appeared behind the 7 talents from the Universe God Palace. His Blood Mountain sword was still roaring. The advanced rank 2 unique skill, the Autumn Wind swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang acquired this swordsmanship on his way to the Snow Dojo. It was similar to the chant of disturbance that he had created, but was actually faster and more powerful. Furthermore, the autumn wind swordsmanship could be used to attack a group of rivals. Boom, 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 boom. There were 6 cracking sounds. Those cracking sounds suggested the split of token. 6 of the 7 talents felt shocked when they felt the split of their tokens, soon after which they were forced out of the mountain rock world. 6 geniuses were out of the game. Still one. Jian Wushuang turned around and saw who was still there. It's a consciousness attack. How powerful it is. Lu Qing, who was the only one left, felt nervous and sweaty and licked his lips. He was attacked by Jian Wushuang's consciousness attack, but fortunately he defended himself at the crucial moment. And the talents, including Long Hao at the other side of the battlefield, were shocked. Jian Wushuang had defeated 6 rivals with only 1 swordsmanship. You are resilient enough to survive under my attack. Jian Wushuang smiled to Lu Qing. Who are you? Lu Qing stared at Jian Wushuang. I know all the powerful talents in the Snow Dojo, but I have never known someone with such a powerful consciousness attack. I joined the Snow Dojo just recently. Certainly, you don't know me. Jian Wushuang laughed. You quit by yourself, or did you let me force you out? Nonsense. Don't imagine you can defeat me. Lu Qing gritted his teeth and clung to his axe, thinking that he could defeat Jian Wushuang as long as he was prepared. He rushed to Jian Wushuang like a furious giant monster. In response, Jian Wushuang also strode. As he strode, Jian Wushuang wielded his sword, and his divine power exploded. Lu Qing wielded his axe and exercised his most powerful unique skills against Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword. A big collision. Boom. Lu Qing felt his body was shaking, and he was shocked. As he realized what had happened, his token split, and he was forced out. Again, Jian Wushuang just used a simple attack. He didn't even have to use the soul attack. After defeating Lu Qing, Jian Wushuang took back his sword and went to Long Hao. Long Hao and his teammates were shocked. Jian Wushuang smiled. We have won, right? They won. The Snow Dojo won. According to the rules of the ranked battle, one party lost the game when all participants were forced out of the game. So the Universe God Palace lost the battle. Spectators outside the Mountain Rock world were also speechless. They were stunned by Jian Wushuang. All eyes were on the hero carrying a long sword, the one they had called the poor confused guy. They had laughed at Jian Wushuang when he went to a group of rivals alone. But now, they had no reason to laugh at him. Jian Wushuang defeated 6 talents with only 1 sword. And with another, he defeated Lu Qing, the most excellent candidate among the universe gods in the first heaven from the Universe God Palace. How powerful Jian Wushuang was. Excellent. Hero. Good job. It was Master of Silence Gloriette who cheered happily. Master of Silence Gloriette stood up cheerfully, but the red fire elderly beside him was totally the opposite. We lose. It was unexpected for him. He had predicted that the Universe God Palace could absolutely win this time, including the 3rd round of the battle. But they had lost. It is because of him. The red fire elderly looked at Jian Wushuang. Who is that young talent? Why didn't we ever hear about him before? The red fire elderly congratulated Master of Silence Gloriette. Finally you win. Master of Silence Gloriette looked complacent. I told you that we would win. Come on, Red Fire Elderly said. You won because you enrolled an excellent member, a true genius. Without him, you had no chance to win. I guess he stayed in the Snow Dojo for less than 1 year. The Universe God Palace collected information on the Snow Dojo once a year. So the Red Fire Elderly guessed Jian Wushuang, was the new member. Haha, you are right. He joined our dojo 3 months ago. Master of Silence Gloriette answered. Chapter 1338, Triumph in Ranking Battle. Chapter 1338, Triumph in Ranking Battle. Less than 3 months? No wonder. The red-haired elderly suddenly understood and sighed. A genius like that is hard to come by. It's a pity that Snow Dojo got their hands on him first. The Master of Silence Gloriette, your Snow Dojo is lucky this time. For the next ranking battle, you won't be so lucky, the red-haired elderly said. Then his figure suddenly dissolved into thin air. Humph, with such a genius, it'd still be Snow Dojo who wins the next ranking battle, the Master of Silence Gloriette replied. After the red-haired elderly left, the Master of Silence Gloriette looked at those golden-dressed deacons. Wushuang, you're a man of vision. Thank you, Master. Wushuang showed a smile, and he felt relief. The Master of Silence Gloriette said that he would tear his skin off earlier. Luckily, Jian Wushuang managed to reach them in time and pulled off impressive tricks. His one lift helped Snow Dojo to win the victory for the ranking battle. Oh yeah, what's the man's name? How did you come across him? The Master of Silence Gloriette asked casually. He looked like he was in a good mood. His name is Jian Wushuang. I met him when I wandered in the outside world. He is definitely the strongest genius I have ever seen, Wushuang replied. Of course, Jian Wushuang intentionally reminded Wushuang, so he didn't reveal to the Master of Silence Gloriette that Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator, a universe god in the first heaven who has such impressive consciousness, attack skill, and such terrifying divine power. He is really out of the ordinary. The Master of Silence Gloriette nodded as he complimented. Previously, when Jian Wushuang took action in Mountain Rock World, no one else had seen it clearer than him. Such a genius. If we Snow Dojo nurture him properly, his achievement definitely wouldn't be any weaker than Qinfeng. Maybe even stronger. The Master of Silence Gloriette smiled. Master, Jian Wushuang, I'm afraid he didn't intend to stay in Snow Dojo, Wushuang said. Oh, why? The Master of Silence Gloriette creased his eyebrows and asked. Wushuang didn't hide anything, briefly telling the Master of Silence Gloriette the ins and outs of the story. Is that so? Jian Wushuang wanted to get the travel route to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries from me, and that's why he won the ranking battle for me. The Master of Silence Gloriette nodded. The 10 cultivation sanctuaries. I once stayed for a while in one of the sanctuaries. It is a place that people yearned for. Jian Wushuang has such talent. It is very normal that he wants to go to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. It's such a pity. The Master of Silence Gloriette sighed in disappointment. For a genius like Jian Wushuang, he, of course, wanted for Jian Wushuang to stay in Snow Dojo if possible. However, Wushuang said that he already invited him once and advised him. However, Jian Wushuang had made up his mind. Master, Wu Chao among the golden-dressed deacons stood up and said, if Jian Wushuang only won a ranking battle for Snow Dojo, and he is going to leave right after that, there's no need for us to give him the quota to enter Tian, Yuan Mystery Land. We could totally give it to the other geniuses in Snow Dojo. Wushuang's face suddenly grew grave. The main goal of Jian Wushuang was, of course, for the travel route to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. However, Tian Yuan Mystery Land was a great chance too. Hence, it'd be great if he could obtain that chance. Then, Wu Chao wanted to pass the quota that originally belonged to Jian Wushuang to other people. The quota to enter Tian, Yuan Mystery Land should still be for him. The Master of Silence Gloriette replied. He won the ranking battle on behalf of Snow Dojo. Supposedly, he should get some benefit. It's only a quota for Tian Yuan Mystery Land. We at Snow Dojo are not that stingy. As the Master of Silence Gloriette had ordered it, Wu Chao naturally didn't dare to go against him. Qing, you take care of the rest of the matter, the Master of Silence Gloriette instructed. Certainly, the first deacon, Master Qing, nodded. I shall return first. Wu Tsang, bring that man to see me later. Then, the Master of Silence Gloriette vanished into thin air on the stand. The ranking battle had ended. The experts on the training field slowly dispersed as the result was out. The people in Mountain Rock World came out from the middle of the training field as well. Many geniuses from Universe God Palace gathered, and they looked embarrassed. Their gazes were fixed on a figure on the opposite side. Jian Wushuang. It's him. He defeated all 7 of our geniuses at once. Even Lu Qing couldn't resist his stroke. Jian Wushuang. I wonder where he popped out from. The geniuses from Universe God Palace discussed among themselves. Before the ranking battle begun, they would pay closer attention to geniuses from their opponent. For instance, their top representative, Long Hao, was someone they focused on. However, Jian Wushuang, he joined Snow Dojo for about 3 months' time, and he was extremely low profile during those 3 months. No one knew his true power in Snow Dojo, so Universe God Palace naturally wouldn't know either. They never expected that the scariest genius in Snow Dojo wasn't Long Hao, but this person named Jian Wushuang. He's too strong. Lu Qing stood there and watched Jian Wushuang too. He was upset. He remembered clearly how Jian Wushuang killed him with 1 stroke in Mountain Rock World. He thought Jian Wushuang was only good with consciousness attacks, but he never expected his divine power explosion would be that terrifying too. He wasn't defeated unjustly. Their difference was too vast. As for the geniuses from Snow Dojo, they looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. They clearly knew that they would have lost the ranking battle if it wasn't because of Jian Wushuang. Dong Ao was among the crowd too, but then Dong Ao was well-behaved, and he even didn't have the courage to look at Jian Wushuang's eyes. Previously, he thought Jian Wushuang defeated him by a fluke. However, after the ranking battle, he finally understood. He didn't win by a fluke. Jian Wushuang was much stronger than him. Jian Wushuang obviously didn't put in any effort during the fight 3 months ago. Swoosh! A figure appeared next to Jian Wushuang. It was Wu Tsang. Jian Wushuang, I talked to the Master of Silence Gloriette. The Master of Silence Gloriette wants me to bring you to see him, Wu Tsang said. Oh, Jian Wushuang was delighted. He didn't bother with the people around him, but left with Wu Tsang to see the Master of Silence Gloriette. In Snow Dojo, there was a palace that was entirely black. All the decorations and embellishments in the palace were black too. Wu Tsang and Jian Wushuang walked into the black palace. Master, I brought Jian Wushuang, Wu Tsang said politely. You may go now. The Master of Silence Gloriette, who was seated on the throne in the palace, waved. Wu Tsang left immediately. In the Black Palace, there were only Jian Wushuang and the Master of Silence Gloriette left. Jian Wushuang, greet the Master of Silence Gloriette. Jian Wushuang bowed politely in response. Chapter 1339, Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Chapter 1339, Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Jian Wushuang, Master of Silence Gloriette, said, I have heard from Lord Wu Tsang about your plan to go to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. I have the map, but you had better not to go there. Why? Jian Wushuang raised his head to look at Master of Silence Gloriette. The 10 cultivation sanctuaries are extremely far from the Snow Kingdom, through a route of which is full of obstacles and danger. It is difficult to handle even for a universe god in the third heaven. I nearly died on the way to one of the sanctuaries. Master of Silence Gloriette added. Jian Wushuang frowned. Even Master of Silence Gloriette, who was much more powerful than him, had almost died on the way to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Jian Wushuang, the eternal chaotic world, is full of danger. Even King Luozhan and the creators of the lineage of Star could meet a deadly situation. But it doesn't mean that you should step back. King of Venomous Worms said. You are right. Jian Wushuang smiled. I recommend that you delay your plan and cultivate in my snow dojo for tens of thousands of years. It won't be too late for you to go there when you become a universe god of the third heaven. Master of Silence Gloriette smiled. Jian Wushuang said, Thank you for your kindness. I know how dangerous the journey will be, but I am quite determined to go there. Master of Silence Gloriette thought for a while and said, If you stay here, I could ask Master Luo, who is very good at swordsmanship, to teach you how to improve your swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang paused for a while. He was surprised that Master of Silence Gloriette was trying whatever he could to convince Jian Wushuang to stay in the snow dojo. But in fact, the reason why I want to go to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries is that I am going to meet my master there and learn from him. Jian Wushuang said. Master of Silence Gloriette finally gave up his efforts to persuade Jian Wushuang. Okay, since you already have a master, it is better for you to leave here and go there. He took out a token, saying, Here is the map to one of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. I only have one. King of Venomous Worms said to Jian Wushuang, The 10 cultivation sanctuaries are close to each other. If you can find one, it is easy to find the rest of them. Thank you. Jian Wushuang was very happy. After Jian Wushuang left the palace, he took out the token immediately and started to read. My guess is confirmed. The Snow Kingdom was just a tiny place located at the margin of the eternal chaotic world. So many gods, including me, didn't know of the Snow Kingdom. King of Venomous Worms said. Jian Wushuang, Master of Silence Gloriette, is right. Going to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries is really a daunting task. King of Venomous Worms added. Why do you say so? Jian Wushuang asked. As we have already known the location of the Snow Kingdom, we now don't have to follow Master of Silence Gloriette's advice about the route. I will spend some time figuring out a solution and tell you after you come back from the Tian, Yuan Mystery Land. Jian Wushuang nodded. He came back to his room and started to cultivate as usual. 10 days passed. 30 talents, including Tian Yuan Mystery Land, had gathered to go to the Tian Yuan Mystery Land. They followed Deacon Green, the chief deacon, to the entrance of the Tian Yuan Mystery Land. After a moment, the gate of the Tian Yuan Mystery Land opened. Jian Wushuang entered into the land and saw a vast white space. All the corners of the space were full of white smog, and he felt an invisible power coming to him. The power is... Jian Wushuang tried to figure out what it was. Do you also feel the power? Longhao asked Jian Wushuang. 10 days ago, Jian Wushuang reversed the situation of the game and helped the Snow Dojo win the ranked battle. The rest of the 29 members all showed their respect to Jian Wushuang. They were very grateful to him. Without Jian Wushuang, they would have had no chance at all to come to the Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Longhao also respected him a lot. Yes, it is a consciousness attack. Jian Wushuang answered Longhao. Yes, you are the best at consciousness attacks amongst us. So you must know more about the power. Longhao said, consciousness is fundamental to us, no less important than our lives. If our rivals from the Universe God Palace had a stronger consciousness, they wouldn't be defeated in a short time. He added, and Tian Yuan, Mystery Land, is a good place for us to cultivate consciousness. Cultivate consciousness. Jian Wushuang was interested. Longhao continued, there has always been a powerful natural force in consciousness attacks. The deeper one is in the land, the stronger the attack is. We are now just at the margin of the Tian Yuan Mystery Land, and the power is relatively weak. But if we go deeper or go to the second level, the consciousness attack's power will soar. Chapter 1340, Cultivation under Assault of Consciousness. Chapter 1340, Cultivation under Assault of Consciousness. The assault of consciousness in Tian Yuan Mystery Land is divided into 4 levels according to their intensity. Any ordinary universe god in the first heaven could easily block the first level of assault of consciousness. As for the second level of the assault of consciousness, it would require the consciousness strength of a universe god in the second heaven to be able to resist. The one corresponding to the third level would be the universe god in the third heaven. As for the fourth level is rather obtuse. We Snow Dojo has many geniuses that visit Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Many of them are impressive universe gods in the third heaven. However, those who pass through the fourth level under the assault of consciousness are extremely rare. Besides the intensity of the assault of consciousness on the fourth level, there are other opportunities. For instance, 10,000 years ago, there was a universe god in the third heaven from Snow Dojo who obtained an impressive secret skill from the fourth level. Of course, the fourth level is too far for us, universe gods in the first heaven. All we can do now is train our consciousness to the first level or the second level at the most. Jian Wushuang, your assault of consciousness is so fierce, maybe you could try to reach the very end of the second level. Longhao said. Jian Wushuang understood the Tian Yuan Mystery Land to a certain extent after hearing what Longhao said. It turned out that it was a mystery land to train and improve one's strength of consciousness. Jian Wushuang smiled, faintly. Jian Wushuang, it isn't easy to enhance your strength of consciousness, and places to enhance your strength of consciousness is hard to come by too. Although your consciousness has already transformed into soul power, you could also improve it with the assault of consciousness in Tian Yuan Mystery Land. It is a rare opportunity that you shouldn't miss. King of Venomous Worms' voice sounded in his head. I, of course, won't miss out on such an opportunity, Jian Wushuang replied. Jian Wushuang, we can only stay in Tian Yuan Mystery Land for 10 years. Tian Yuan Mystery Land will close 10 years later, and we will have to leave too. So make the best use of the time and hurry up, Longhao reminded. Jian Wushuang nodded. He didn't hesitate and immediately moved forward. The other experts who entered Tian Yuan Mystery Land moved forward too. Whoever wanted to train one's consciousness via assault of consciousness must allow the assault of consciousness to push his endurance limit. Then they were only at the border of the first level, and the assault of consciousness was fairly weak. Hence, there was naturally no one who wanted to cultivate there. Jian Wushuang continued to move forward. He could feel that the assault of consciousness was growing stronger throughout the journey, but he wasn't bothered. Soon, he reached the end of the first level. Until then, he hadn't felt restricted at all. However, the few universe gods in the first heaven obviously felt the strain, although they persisted. The geniuses from Snow Dojo's consciousness were naturally stronger than the others of the same level. Almost everyone passed through the first level. But when they reached the second level, the assault of consciousness went up to the level of a universe god in the second heaven. Among the 10 universe gods in the first heaven, only Jian Wushuang, Long Hao, and one other person managed to pull through. The remaining 7 of them stopped one after another. The assault of consciousness had obviously reached the limit of what they could endure. After a while, Long Hao and the other universe gods stopped in the middle region of the second level, while Jian Wushuang continued to move forward without hesitation. He walked directly to the end of the second level. Then, he still didn't look like he was going to stop, but entered the third level directly. When he arrived the third level, the assault of consciousness had arrived at the level of universe god in the third heaven. However, Jian Wushuang looked normal, and he didn't seem to be straining at all. Although the assault of consciousness on the third level was fierce, it still couldn't affect me. Jian Wushuang found it strange, and he asked in silence, "King of venomous worms, do you know my strength of consciousness is currently at which level?" Strength of consciousness. King of venomous worms smiled faintly and replied, "You have always been training your consciousness and soul power with the method your master has taught you. Plus, you've been through so much, and also when you underwent the inverse cultivation test, the training of your mind test pushed your consciousness much higher compared to the others who shared the same rank. If you were talking about the strength of consciousness alone, you should currently be at the peak of universe god in the second heaven, or even universe god in the third heaven. However, because your consciousness transformed into soul power long ago, soul power is an extremely high-end power. Hence, even though you are slightly weaker in strength, an ordinary assault of consciousness wouldn't be able to do anything to you. Now, you are already entering the third level in Tian Yuan Mystery Land, but you still aren't affected much. I reckon you'd only feel strained when you reach the middle of third level. As for your limit, it should be at the end of the third level." Jian Wushuang heard that and nodded. Sure enough, when he reached the mid-region of the third level, the assault of consciousness caused a faint tingle in his head, and he felt a little strained. Then, Jian Wushuang didn't opt to stop, but continued to move forward. Soon, he arrived at the end of the third level and finally stopped. The others who had also walked till the end of the third level were the 9 universe gods in the third heaven from Snow Dojo. There was a total of 10 universe gods in the third heaven from Snow Dojo that had entered Tian Yuan Mystery Land. However, among the 10 of them, the eye-catching Chinfeng had already leaped into the fourth level. That very moment, the 9 universe gods in the third heaven noticed Jian Wushuang's arrival, and they found it unbelievable. Are you kidding me? A universe god in the first heaven walked all the way to the end of the third level, drawing with us. During the ranking battle earlier, I could tell that Jian Wushuang's consciousness attack was extremely strong. Hence, his strength of consciousness shouldn't be much weaker. However, I never expected his strength of consciousness to be compared favorably with us, peak universe gods in the third heaven. Universe gods in the first heaven who possesses such strength of consciousness. How is that possible? The 9 universe gods in the third heaven exchanged glances in surprise, and they were left speechless. However, Jian Wushuang was unconcerned. When he reached the end of the third level, he sat down. Then, he started cultivating universal Tao scripture under the pressure of the consciousness attack. Universal Tao scripture was a method to improve soul power. When one's soul power was at its limit, cultivating scripture was definitely the best shortcut to improving soul power. It's a rare opportunity. I only have 10 years' time, and I can't miss a single second. Jian Wushuang held his fists tight, but he was calm. He was fully immersed into the cultivation of universal Tao scripture. As for those universe gods in the third heaven who were next to him, They already recovered from the surprise and had concentrated on their own training too. Chapter 1341, A Woman in a Robe. Chapter 1341, A Woman in a Robe. The time just flew by. 9 years passed, and there was just 1 year left. Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes after cultivating in the third layer for 9 years. After cultivating the universal Tao scripture for 9 years under the pressure of the consciousness attack, I have doubled my soul power. Jian Wushuang was excited. Now your soul power and also your consciousness strength has reached the level of a universe god in the third heaven. King of venomous worms said to Jian Wushuang, Tian Yuan Mystery Land is indeed a good place to cultivate. No wonder everyone from the Snow Dojo was eager to come here. Jian Wushuang thought, there is 1 year left. Maybe I can go to the fourth layer. The fourth layer, the most powerful and wonderful layer in the Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Jian Wushuang was interested in what the fourth layer was about. He stood up and moved slowly to the fourth layer. As he stood up, the other 9 universe gods in the third heaven were surprised by him. What does he want to do? They soon figured out the intention of Jian Wushuang. This guy wants to go the fourth layer. Few universe gods in the third heaven could go there except Lingfeng. Jian Wushuang, only a universe god in the first heaven, dared to go there. They couldn't believe that. But they saw Jian Wushuang walk determinedly to the juncture between the third layer and the fourth layer, which was only a thin barrier. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and entered into the fourth layer. At that moment, Jian Wushuang felt a much stronger consciousness attack soar. Boom! Jian Wushuang felt a roar inside his head, which nearly drove him crazy, and his eyes turned blood red. He bit his lips and resisted the astonishing consciousness attack. Finally, he crossed through the barrier. He crossed through the barrier. He managed to do so. Unbelievable. The other 9 universe gods in the third heaven were astonished. Though they were universe gods in the third heaven and elites in the Snow Dojo, they could only stay in the third layer. But Jian Wushuang, a universe god in the first heaven, got to the fourth one. They felt ashamed. The fourth layer of the Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Though Jian Wushuang successfully crossed the barrier, he couldn't move on anymore. His face turned red. Under the effect of the consciousness attack, he felt the soul fire in his body was all burning, nearly exploding. Just hold on, Jian Wushuang. You are almost there. King of venomous worms told Jian Wushuang at this crucial moment. Jian Wushuang also encouraged himself. I have resisted the mind test. Only a consciousness attack is nothing to me. Under the unimaginable consciousness attack, Jian Wushuang improved his soul power slowly. As he gradually improved, he felt the stress was released a little bit and he was now kept stable. Finally, I resisted the most difficult part. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. Keep cultivating here, Jian Wushuang, and you could gain more benefits. King of venomous worms said. Jian Wushuang nodded. Though he felt tired, he struggled to sit down and cultivate universal Tao scripture. At the center of the Tian Yuan Mystery Land, there was a mountain made of white crystals, which looked mysterious and valuable. Inside the mountain, a huge palace was located. There was a lady in a robe inside the palace, keeping still for millions of years. But at this moment, she opened her eyes and sent out a flash of purple light. The light crossed through the mountain and the boundless heaven, helping the lady to see Jian Wushuang trillion miles away. And the lady felt alarmed when she saw Jian Wushuang. Amongst the 30 talents entering into the Tian Yuan Mystery Land, only Lingfeng entered into the fourth layer and walked for a long distance. His consciousness was much stronger than Jian Wushuang, who had just reached the margin of the fourth layer. But Chun Feng didn't draw the attention of the lady in a robe. Only Jian Wushuang woke the lady and made her alarmed. The soul power, the lady in a robe, said. The lady's words would have surprised Jian Wushuang and King of Venomous Worms if they had heard them. After all, soul power was the supreme power of Jian Wushuang in the inverse cultivation. For many years, others often mistook the soul attack for the consciousness attack. Even Master of Silence, Gloriette, didn't know the truth. But now, the lady with a robe felt Jian Wushuang's soul power without even seeing him exercising the soul attack. Only a universe god of the first heaven can ignite the soul fire. It is inverse cultivation. I could feel from his breath that he belongs to the lineage of ancient gods and is very prestigious. A descendant of the lineage of ancient gods who has passed through the first inverse cultivation is now in my land. Interesting. The lady knew immediately who Jian Wushuang was and started to ponder. Chapter 1342, Secret Skill of Tian Yuan. Chapter 1342, Secret Skill of Tian Yuan. The Ancient God Clan. I bear the Ancient God Clan's fellowship. Now that that young man has come to my mystery land, let me make good affinity with him. Ah Chi. Swoosh. A purple-haired lady appeared next to her. In the mystery land right now, there's a universe god in the first heaven who is at the fourth level. When he's preparing to leave, pass this to him. The woman in the Taoist robe took an item out. Yes, the purple-haired lady took over and vanished into thin air. The woman in the Taoist robe closed her eyes, and the cave became quiet again. On the fourth level of Tian Yuan Mystery Land, Jian Wushuang had been cultivating. With the aid of the assault of consciousness, his soul power had improved tremendously. The 10-year time limit was ending soon. Jian Wushuang could feel the surrounding sky and land rejecting him faintly. Have to leave soon. Jian Wushuang said regrettably, feeling a little disappointed. The assault of consciousness in Tian Yuan Mystery Land was extremely useful for his training. In 10 years, his soul power improved tremendously. If he were to continue to stay, he would definitely improve even more greatly. It's a pity that he could only stay in Tian Yuan Mystery Land for 10 years. The moment time was up, he had to leave. Just when Jian Wushuang had stood up and was preparing to leave. Swoosh! A green flowing light suddenly spurted before him. Jian Wushuang was stunned and extended his hand instinctually. He grabbed the green, flowing light straight away. This is... Jian Wushuang spread his hand and looked at the green crystal in his hand. A green crystal with a green tinge. It looked rather unusual. This is the Paradise Stone that the experts or ancestors of Eternal Chaotic World used for recording secret skills and important information. King of Venomous Worms' voice was heard. Paradise Stone? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Jian Wushuang, use your soul power to examine the internals of this Paradise Stone, King of Venomous Worms instructed. Jian Wushuang nodded and covered the Paradise Stone with his soul power. Suddenly, there was a tremendous momentum of information that surged out. The secret skill of Tian Yuan. This is it. Jian Wushuang was shocked. The secret skill of soul attack. King of Venomous Worms let out an exclamation. In the Paradise Stone, there was a secret skill, and it was the extremely rare secret skill of soul attack. Soul power is extremely high-end on its own, while the secret skill of soul attack is, just like the universal Tao scripture that your master gave you, rare. You're that lucky that you got the secret skill of soul attack. King of Venomous Worms exclaimed. No, maybe it's not luck. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said solemnly, although I possess soul power, I could only integrate my soul power into sword principle for an attack. Although it would be considered as a soul attack too, it wouldn't allow me to give full play to my soul power entirely. I really am lacking of the real secret skill of soul attack. I happen to be lacking it, and I got it when I am about to leave Tian, Yuan, Mystery Land. How could it be such a coincidence? Jian Wushuang, you mean King of Venomous Worms, lowered his voice as he thought of the possibility too. Jian Wushuang didn't speak, but lifted his head. He looked afar at the vast expanse of whiteness before him, into the depth of Tian Yuan Mystery Land. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and said, although I do not know your name, I, Jian Wushuang, will owe you a debt of gratitude for your kindness. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Then Jian Wushuang stood there for a while before he left. In the cave dwelling in the depths of Tian Yuan Mystery Land, the woman in the Taoist robe opened her eyes again. Definitely repay me in the future? This young man is quite interesting. The woman in Taoist robe shook her head and became turned quiet again. Soon enough, the 30 geniuses in Tian Yuan Mystery Land were all sent out. In the 10 years' duration, the geniuses were more or less rewarded, while Jian Wushuang was obviously the one with the biggest reward. Not only did he increase his soul power tremendously with the aid of the assault of consciousness, he even obtained the secret skill of soul attack in the end. The secret skill of soul attack, in particular, was extremely hard to come by. The secret skill of Tian Yuan. After getting out from Tian Yuan Mystery Land, Jian Wushuang couldn't wait, but started to study the secret skill. The method of using soul power is very unique. This is the secret skill of soul attack. Jian Wushuang praised. Jian Wushuang, back when I was wandering around eternal chaotic world with King Luozhen, I've seen countless experts. I've also seen some people who pulled the secret skill of soul attack. But from what I see, this secret skill of Tian Yuan would be an extremely strong secret skill of soul attack, King of Venomous Worms said. Such an impressive secret skill of soul attack wouldn't be easy to perform. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. The secret skill of Tian Yuan had 4 levels of attack in total. Even at the very first level, inextinguishable light required an enormous amount of soul power to be pulled off. Jian Wushuang just ignited his soul power not long ago, and it had yet to take shape as a real soul power. Hence, his soul power wasn't as immense. According to the standard of my current soul power, I could barely pull off inextinguishable light. I reckon I would only be able to do it once, and my soul power would be exhausted. Jian Wushuang sighed. Of course, although it was difficult to perform, its power was definitely ferocious. Jian Wushuang, after 10 years of training in Tian Yuan Mystery Land, the strength of your soul has improved tremendously. It could be compared favorably to a universe god in the 3rd heaven. Even if you do not perform the secret skill of Tian Yuan, I reckon there wouldn't be many universe gods in the 2nd heaven who could resist your soul attack performed via sword principle. With this point alone, you are already at the peak of universe god in the 2nd heaven. If you could perform the first level of the secret skill of Tian Yuan, inextinguishable light, even if you could only do it once, the soul attack is enough to threaten a universe god in the 3rd heaven. If I'm not mistaken, with this technique alone, it's even possible to kill a universe god in the 3rd heaven straightway. King of Venomous Worms said. To kill a universe god in the 3rd heaven? Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. Universe god in the 3rd heaven is so easily killed. Although Jian Wushuang replied, so he was extremely delighted. He knew that he had himself another trump card, which was the secret skill of Tian Yuan. Jian Wushuang with your current power, although it is still risky to travel to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries alone, it is still equally possible for you to reach there alive. You can depart now, King of Venomous Worms said. If so, let me bid farewell with Lord Wushuang, and I shall make a move. Jian Wushuang smiled. He immediately sent a message to inform Lord Wushuang. Wushuang knew long ago that Jian Wushuang wanted to leave, so he wasn't surprised. Soon, Jian Wushuang left Snow Dojo, left Snow Kingdom, and departed towards the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Chapter 1343, The Ancient Star Sea. Chapter 1343, The Ancient Star Sea. Jian Wushuang's spaceship was flying fast in the dark heaven. I have revised the route to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. You can have a look, King of Venomous Worms said. Jian Wushuang started to read the route. 2 routes? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, one is going through the ancient Star Sea, and the other is bypassing it. King of Venomous Worms explained. What are the differences? A lot. The ancient Star Sea is a dangerous place in the eternal chaotic world. Though it is nothing for those almighty, it poses a big risk to universe gods. King of Venomous Worms explained. In the ancient Star Sea, there are not only natural crises, but also many exotic beasts that are hostile to human cultivators. They may hurt you. Therefore, the first choice is full of risks of death, but it's also time efficient. It will take less than 2,000 years to get there. And the second choice is safer, but it takes more time. How much time does the second option take? Jian Wushuang asked. It's hard to predict. Maybe 30,000 years. King of Venomous Worms answered. 30,000 years. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He had cultivated for less than 10,000 years. As he was unwilling to waste 30,000 years on the journey, he chose to go through the ancient Star Sea. I guessed you would choose the first one. I was right. King of Venomous Worms smiled. So before getting to the ancient Star Sea, you should try your best to improve your skills and power. The stronger you are, the more possibility you will have of surviving. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded, and he soon started to cultivate. He had just left the snow-sacred land with his spaceship, and it would take at least 100 years for him to arrive at the margin of the ancient Star Sea. It was long enough for him. I have just created the advanced rank 2 unique skill. With the accumulation of swordsmanship, I could definitely create more powerful unique skills. Jian Wushuang was confident. I will spend these 100 years on improving my unique skills. Jian Wushuang was quite determined. The journey in the dark heaven was boring, through which Jian Wushuang used all his time to cultivate. And the 110 years passed soon. Jian Wushuang, you are now close to the ancient Star Sea. Don't get to the sea alone, or you will die. King of Venomous Worms said, Go to the land 6 first. So Jian Wushuang followed the suggestion of King of Venomous Worms and drove his spaceship to a floating land 6. The land 6 was small. It was not a universe, but a station for human cultivators. Jian Wushuang now stood on the land 6. Many geniuses from different universes or kingdoms came to the land 6. They were almighty talents, and Jian Wushuang, as a universe god, seemed trivial. Are they all coming for the ancient Star Sea? Jian Wushuang murmured. Of course. Some talents go there to cultivate. Some go through the sea as a time-efficient way to go to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. King of Venomous Worms said. They often team up to get through the ancient Star Sea, which increases the possibility of success. Team up. Jian Wushuang was interested. There are many teams of cultivators who are going to the ancient Star Sea. You can choose one and go to the sea, with other universe gods. I think many teams would welcome you, since you are a peak universe god in the first heaven. King of Venomous Worms suggested to Jian Wushuang. Okay, I will have a try. Jian Wushuang started to find teams to get through the ancient star sea. Soon he received an invitation and joined a large team with around 100 cultivators. The cultivators in the team were at least universe gods in the first heaven. 3 days later, at the margin of the heaven, a huge, ancient spaceship was ready to depart. Be prepared, guys. We are departing in an hour. The person who was talking was an elderly god with a green robe. His breath was full of power. Apparently, he was a universe god in the third heaven. Jian Wushuang was one member of the team. He knew that the elderly god was named Yuan and that he was the leader of the team. The team was made up of 140 cultivators. Among them, there were 3 universe gods in the third heaven, 20 in the second heaven, and the rest were all in the first heaven. 1 hour passed. The ancient spaceship departed in the direction of the ancient star sea. Jian Wushuang sat at the deck of the spaceship, ignoring other talents nearby, some of whom were chatting and some were cultivating. Jian Wushuang raised his head and found a boy. The boy was around 12 years old. He was staring curiously at a bald man in front of him. Chapter 1344, Duan Lingfeng. Chapter 1344, Duan Lingfeng. On the bald man's face. There was a strange pattern, while the youth was obviously staring at that pattern. The bald man who was cultivating seemed to notice the youth, and he opened his eyes to glare at the youth with his cold stare. The rage in his eyes terrified the youth as the youth moved backwards. Then there was a lady in red who walked forward and embraced the youth as she apologized. "I'm sorry, my brother didn't intend to disturb your cultivation. Universe Master." The bald man stole a glance at the lady in red, and there was a stroke of coldness on his face. Who brought the 2 universe masters on board? Doesn't he know how dangerous the ancient star sea is? How could he bring 2 universe masters to drag us down? The bald man was very loud, and everyone on the deck stared. When they saw the lady in red and the strong, honest youth, their facial expressions changed. They could tell that the lady in red was merely a universe master, while the strong honey youth was just an 11-year-old kid who had only just started cultivation. There was not much power to begin with. They were going to go through the ancient star sea, which would be very dangerous. Hence, the threshold to join the troop was to be a universe god in the first heaven. But the lady in red and the youth were obviously just universe masters. How could they join the troop? Who brought them up? Hurry up. Otherwise, I shall kick them off the ship directly. The bald man bellowed, and his voice traveled across the spaceship. Just then, the cabin's door suddenly opened, and there was a figure that moved out slowly. It was a young man in a white robe who was carrying a saber. He had long brown hair, sleepy eyes, slender body, and a cold manner. He looked dignified and dauntless. The young man in white robe walked before the bald man and looked down in his eyes. "I brought the 2 of them up. Do you have an opinion?" The young man in the white robe looked calm, but with every word he uttered, his aura grew stronger. When he finished his sentence, his aura was at a terrifying level which suppressed the bald man. The bald man's face was distorted. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't say a word. "Brother Duan." The lady in red pulled the young man in white robe's sleeve, and his aura slowed down slightly. "Humph!" The young man in white robe humped. Then he looked at the lady in red and the youth and said, "Let's go into the cabin." The lady in red nodded, and then they returned into the cabin with the youth. On the deck, a discussion was stirred. "The one earlier is one of the universe god in the third heaven in our troop, right?" The lady called him Brother Duan, means that his surname is Duan. I wonder what his name is. Just now, that person, I know him. He's called Duan Lingfeng. Duan Lingfeng. Everyone immediately looked over. The universe god who spat the name Duan Lingfeng slowly started with his story. Mr. Duan Lingfeng is a universe god in the third heaven, but he just underwent his god's test in the third heaven not long ago. I heard that the movement was not small when he underwent his god's test. There were even experts who saw him undergo his god's test with their own eyes and said that the god's test that he went through was a mind test. Mind test. Everyone was astonished. Even Jian Wushuang was stunned when he heard the word mind test. In the eternal chaotic world, not everyone was qualified to undergo the scariest mind test among the three kinds of God's test. Under normal circumstances, Mr. Duan Lingfeng passed through a mind test. His power definitely would be extremely strong. Unfortunately, he just passed the test not long ago. His divine power has just started to transform to be like a universe god in the third heaven. Hence, I'm afraid he isn't that strong yet either. The universe god continued. Is that so? That's such a pity. Everyone continued to chat for a while until the deck finally quieted down again. When Jian Wushuang heard the people discuss him around him, he remembered the name Duan Lingfeng. The spaceship was moving in ancient star sea at a speed that wasn't too fast nor too slow. 3 years flew past. In the 3 years, Jian Wushuang's troop was rather calm. There wasn't any danger, but merely 2 interruptions by some exotic beasts. On the deck, wow, 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 there were swift and fierce sword lights. Very soon, the training ended. Brother Wushuang, what do you think about my swordsmanship? In 3 years' time, the strong, honest youth had grown up quite a bit, and he was smiling right before Jian Wushuang. Not too shabby. If your foundation of swordsmanship were to be improved, that'd be great. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. In the 3 years, he had got along with the rest of the troop quite well, especially the youth before him, Luo Hai. At the beginning, Luo Hai was practicing swordsmanship alone on the deck, while Jian Wushuang watched by the side. But when Luo Hai finished practicing, he commented casually. Luo Hai was extremely delighted with his advice. Ever since, Luo Hai had always looked to him for pointers. Luo Hai, your brother Duan is a universe god in the third heaven. You have been by his side all the time. Why didn't you practice with a saber, only a sword? Jian Wushuang asked. Ever since I was born, my sister and I are always with Brother Duan. But Brother Duan never taught me how to use a saber, and I don't like sabers. I prefer swords. I must become a swordsman that travel the universe in the future, just like my father. Luo Hai said. Oh, your father uses swords too? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows as he smiled. Just then, shriek. There was a sharp shrill. On the spaceship, those who were originally chatting casually or cultivating were suddenly shaken. Their gazes were cast to the source of the shrill. They saw a sea of purple torrents surging towards the spaceship at an unusually swift speed. There were sharp shrills among the purple surging torrent. That is, it's a purple marten. So many purple martens. Quick, turn the direction of the spaceship. Raging voices were heard across the spaceship. Purple martens were one of the scariest pack exotic beasts in ancient Star Sea. Purple martens had always been hostile to human cultivators. They killed each and every human cultivator without mercy every time they saw one. Then, there was a pack of purple martens before them. No way, it's too late. The one who controlled the spaceship was the leader of the troop, the elderly man in a green robe. His face grew grave. He wanted to change the direction of the spaceship as fast as possible, but he still couldn't change it in time. Chapter 1345. A fierce battle full with swords and blood. Chapter 1345. A fierce battle full with swords and blood. Booming. The purple flood immediately submerged the spaceship, making resounding noises. Numerous purple martens were hitting the barrier of the spaceship. The barrier almost was shaking and almost crashed. Damn it! Yuan shouted. All the universe gods of the second heaven should take actions to find the leader of those purple martens and kill it. Then he rushed out of the barrier. Many universe gods of the second heaven didn't hesitate and followed him immediately. Luoyu, Luohai, go into the cabin. After telling them to hide from danger, Duan Lingfeng got into the battle. Luoyu and Luohai entered into the cabin for shelter. Bang! A fierce battle began out of the spaceship. 3 universe gods in the third heaven and almost 20 universe gods in the second heaven fought together violently against the purple martens. The heavens roared. But soon, bang! Flashes of purple light burst out, breaking the 3 heads of the universe gods in the third heaven apart. What? Damn it! And those fighters soon found 5 much larger purple martens rising from the purple flood. Those purple martens each had 3 golden lines on their backs. 5 3-lined purple martens? Yuan was shocked. The more powerful the purple martens were, the more lines they had on their backs. 1-lined purple martens were as powerful as universe gods in the first heaven. 2-lined purple martens were as powerful as universe gods in the second heaven. 3-lined purple martens were as powerful as universe gods in the third heaven. 5 3-lined purple martens were able to contain 5 universe gods in the third heaven. Apart from that, there were 10 2-lined purple martens and numerous 3-lined purple martens. Boom! Those purple martens popped up. 20 universe gods were far less powerful than much a powerful group of purple martens. After just a moment, the barrier of the spaceship crashed, and all universe gods in the first heaven were confronted with the rising threat. Watch out! Come on! In the sounds of screaming and shouting, all universe gods in the first heaven, including Jian Wushuang, carried their weapons and started to fight against the purple martens. Jian Wushuang, with his eyes full of anger, beat a purple marten with his blood mountain sword. The purple marten had intended to kill Jian Wushuang, but as Jian Wushuang waved his sword toward it, it soon lost consciousness. It was torn apart, but Jian Wushuang didn't stop. He waved his sword toward other purple martens. Another 2 purple martens died. Jian Wushuang killed 3 purple martens altogether, but it didn't have much of an effect on the large group of purple martens. At this time, bang! A roar came from the spaceship cabin. Almost 10 purple martens rushed toward it. Other universe gods didn't pay much attention to it, but Duan Lingfeng felt alarmed. Oh no! His face distorted, and he rushed to the cabin like crazy, but he couldn't arrive in time. He saw that Luoyu and Luohai were scared. As many as 10 purple martens rushed to Luoyu and Luohai. No universe gods could help them. At this moment, Jian Wushuang waved his sword to the spaceship, swiftly like autumn wind, and leaving no trace. Fizz! 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 All purple martens around Luoyu and Luohai stopped rushing and fell down. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang flew to Luohai and Luoyu. Brother Wushuang. Luohai got excited when he saw Jian Wushuang. Stay with me, don't move around, okay? Jian Wushuang told them. They nodded vehemently. Duan Lingfeng rushed to the spaceship and finally felt relieved after he saw Luoyu and Luohai were safe. Then he turned around and looked at 5 large 3-lined purple martens. He felt furious. Luo Yu and Luo Hai almost died because of these monsters. Duan Lingfeng clenched his hands and felt a strong desire to kill those three-lined purple martens. Go to hell! A flash of blood-red light burst out from Duan Lingfeng. His figure appeared in front of a three-lined purple marten. Then he waved his sword. Bang! A blood-red sword light flashed. Silently, and suddenly the boundless battlefield went silent without any sound. Is that it? Yuan and other universe gods turned around and looked at Duan Lingfeng. What? Jian Wushuang was also attracted to the sword light. That sword light turned everything into silence. Yuan and other universe gods' jaws dropped. Jian Wushuang was also shocked. Everything in the heavens came to a standstill. Swoosh! The blood-red light stabbed into the three-lined purple marten. The three-lined purple marten, which was as powerful as universe gods in the third heaven, could hardly resist and died under the attack of Duan Lingfeng. And Duan Lingfeng strode forward to the second three-lined purple marten. Bang! Another flash of blood-red sword light appeared, and it was still silent. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Just like this, once Duan Lingfeng strode and waved his sword, he could kill a three-lined purple marten. Soon he had killed all the three-lined purple martens. 5 waves of his sword, 5 three-lined purple martens killed. All the human cultivators couldn't believe that. Those 2-lined purple martens and 3-lined purple martens roared crazily. They felt scared that their 5 leaders were all killed. They disappeared immediately from the huge purple flood. Chapter 1346, The Real Genius. Chapter 1346, The Real Genius. The purple martens fled, and the crisis was over. On the spaceship, everyone was still in a shock and had yet to come back to reality. They were all astonished by Duan Lingfeng's 5 incredible strokes. The 5 strokes were too terrifying. Jian Wushuang, you have come across a real genius, King of Venomous Worms said in Jian Wushuang's head. A real genius? Duan Lingfeng? Jian Wushuang stunned. It's him, King of Venomous Worms, sounded rather serious. If I didn't sense it wrongly, Dean Lingfeng should be quite badly injured. To be more accurate, he was poisoned, and that caused him to be unable to give full play to his power. Otherwise, he could have killed the 5 3-marked purple martens long ago. Badly injured. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He was badly injured, power severely hindered, but he still could kill 5 3-marked purple marten in an instant. Don't find it strange. Duan Lingfeng is really impressive. If he wasn't badly injured, if he didn't just pass through God's test, and his divine power wasn't just starting to transform, forget about the 5 3-marked purple marten. Even in the entire eternal chaotic world, he could definitely be unrivaled among the countless peak universe gods. In the third heaven, he has such ability. King of Venomous Worms said. In the eternal chaotic world, among countless peak universe god in the third heaven, he could be unrivaled. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He is a real genius. Even in the vast expanse of the eternal chaotic world, he's the top super genius. He is totally different from those geniuses you met in Snow Dojo, Snow Kingdom. Those geniuses would only be qualified to carry his shoes for him, King of Venomous Worms said. Of course, although Duan Lingfeng is the real genius, you're not that much weaker than him. Jian Wushuang heard that, and there was a surge of emotions. King of Venomous Worms was experienced and knowledgeable. For him to give such high compliments, Duan Lingfeng must be really impressive. Before everyone's shocked gaze, Duan Lingfeng retrieved his saber and came to the spaceship. He came before Luo Yu and Luo Hai. Hi, are you okay? Duan Lingfeng asked. We're okay. Luo Yu shook her head. It's Brother Wushuang that saved us, Luo Hai immediately added. Duan Lingfeng looked at Jian Wushuang. Thank you, Duan Lingfeng expressed his gratitude. Don't mention it. What's more, if it wasn't for you killing the 5 3-marked purple martens, I'm afraid no one in our troop could have escaped. It should be us who thank you. Jian Wushuang smiled. Duan Lingfeng nodded faintly, but didn't say anything else. The universe gods on the spaceship finally came back to reality and slowly recovered. Their troop lost quite a few universe gods in the fight earlier, and there were many that were injured. Besides, the surrounding setup on the spaceship was broken. Yuan had to repair it. When the recovery work was almost done, the spaceship continued its journey. In the corner of the spaceship, Jian Wushuang lay alone. Swoosh! A wine pot was thrown directly at Jian Wushuang, and he caught it with ease. Let's have a drink together. Duan Lingfeng took a seat. He had a wine pot in his hand, too. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows, but he didn't refuse. Luckily, you saved you and Hai in time today. Otherwise, I would be too embarrassed to see Brother Luo Yan, Duan Lingfeng said coldly. Brother Luo Yan? Jian Wushuang was confused. Brother Luo Yan is their father. He's my best friend. Duan Lingfeng said, Not long ago, when I was undergoing my god's test, in the 3rd heaven, my enemies suddenly came to look for me. Brother Luo Yan fought alone against 3 universe god in the 3rd heaven, fully aware that he wasn't their match in order to stop them from bothering me. In the end, I passed my god's test, but Brother Luo Yan died in my enemy's hand. It can be said that I owe Brother Luo Yan my life. Jian Wushuang heard and secretly admired Brother Luo Yan in the story. He knew that he wasn't the enemy's match, but in order to not let them bother his best friend's god test, he blocked the 3 universe gods in the 3rd heaven forcefully until he sacrificed himself. The friendship ran really deep. Before Brother Luo Yan died, he told me to send you and Hai back to his hometown, Imperial World. I must send them back to his hometown regardless of my life. But now, Duan Lingfeng shook his head as he blamed himself. If it wasn't because of Jian Wushuang, Luo Yu and Luo Hai might really be dead. If I'm not mistaken, you should be quite heavily injured. Huh? Jian Wushuang asked. You can tell? Duan Lingfeng looked surprised. You must be quite badly injured, and it is affecting your fighting power. Otherwise, you could have killed the few 3-marked purple martens right at the beginning, Jian Wushuang said. True, Duan Lingfeng nodded. I am poisoned by my enemy, and I can't use too much of my power. I killed the few 3-marked purple martens at the risk of poison spreading to my heart. Is that so? Jian Wushuang was shocked and said, What kind of poison is that? I might have a way to cure it for you. Speaking of antidotes, Jian Wushuang was an expert on them. It's okay. Duan Lingfeng shook his head. I have kept the poison under control. Give me some time. In less than 100 years, I will be able to clear the poison. If so, why didn't you clear the poison first before you come to Ancient Star Sea? Jian Wushuang was confused. Ancient Star Sea, just how dangerous was it? He had yet to recover to his peak, and he had brought 2 universe masters to Ancient Star Sea. Isn't this too risky? I have no choice because my enemy is coming after me. I have to leave immediately, Duan Lingfeng said. Oh, I see. Jian Wushuang understood. Jian Wushuang. Duan Lingfeng suddenly looked over as he also knew Jian Wushuang's name. I saw you killing 10 over purple martens with 1 stroke. You are quite strong, Duan Lingfeng said. I'm not up to your par. Jian Wushuang smiled. If I'm not mistaken, The reason why you want to go through the ancient Star Sea is to head to the legendary 10 cultivation sanctuaries, right? Duan Lingfeng asked. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. The 10 cultivation sanctuaries. There was a spark that appeared in Duan Lingfeng's eyes. The legend says that there are countless geniuses and experts. It's a pity that I still have tasks on hand. Otherwise, I'd go there too. I'd like to see what sort of monsters there are in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. Chapter 1347, A Formidable Enemy. Chapter 1347, A Formidable Enemy. Duan Lingfeng and Jian Wushuang talked for a long time in the spaceship. Jian Wushuang felt happy to be exchanging ideas with Duan Lingfeng, a real genius. And it was also a pleasure for Duan Lingfeng to make friends with Jian Wushuang. The spaceship kept traveling through the ancient Star Sea. The ancient Star Sea was full of dangers, in which there were beasts much more scary and violent than the Purple Martins Jian Wushuang's team had met. But the team was powerful enough, especially with the top talent, Duan Lingfeng, to tackle any problems or dangers. The 40 years passed quickly. Jian Wushuang's team finally arrived at the verge of the ancient Star Sea. We are already at the verge of the ancient Star Sea. I guess we can leave here within 1 month. Finally, I have been feeling nervous along the way. We are all terrified. We couldn't survive without Duan Lingfeng being here. Everyone was talking happily. After all, they thought they could get free of the anxiety and fear that they had been feeling all day and all night in the past 40 years. However, they didn't realize that at the peak of the mountain that they were heading for, a black-robed man felt them coming and opened his eyes. The black-robed man said, I feel a calling, a very strong calling. Who is giving me that calling? The black-robed man stood up and looked around. He looked in the direction from which the spaceship came and went into ecstasy. It's my prey, a very delicious prey for which I have a crazily strong desire. I could have a feast today. Then the black-robed man transformed into a spirit and flew toward the spaceship. Come on, my prey. I am coming. And passengers in the spaceship had no idea of what was happening. Jian Wushuang was sitting on the deck of the spaceship with a flagon beside him, watching a young talent practicing swordsmanship. The young talent was Luo Hai, who had grown up. Within 40 years, the gifted Luo Hai had improved his swordsmanship a lot by studying in the ancient Star Sea, and also with the help of elixirs given to him by Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng. Shoo! Luo Hai waved his sword, producing a dazzling light. Soon, Luo Hai stopped his exercises, and the light disappeared. Brother Wushuang, what do you think of the swordsmanship I have created? Luo Hai asked Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang said, Not bad. As you have already created your own sword principle, you can develop your swordsmanship based on it, so that you can unleash the potential power of your sword principle. Thank you, Brother Wushuang. Can I follow you as your disciple? I have really improved a lot with your help. My disciple? Luo Yu and Duan Lingfeng also looked at them. Jian Wushuang shook his head, smiling. I am not qualified, actually. Luo Hai was a little disappointed, but he didn't continue the conversation. Bang! Suddenly, a very strong consciousness attack hit everyone in the spaceship. Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng frowned. Other universe gods also felt alarmed and looked in the direction of the attack. Shoo! A black-robed man appeared at the front of the deck and intercepted the spaceship. Everyone in the crowd was now looking at the man through the barrier. Only a man. He comes here alone intending to intercept us. He seems to be powerful. Everyone in the crowd was discussing it. The team leader in the spaceship, Yuan, asked politely, Is there anything that we could help you with? Yuan felt that the man was at least at the level of universe gods in the third heaven. Ha ha! The black-robed man didn't pay much attention to Yuan, but stared at only one man on the spaceship while wearing a cunning and vicious smile. He was looking at Jian Wushuang. "You are my prey now," the black-robed man murmured, licking his lips. He was extremely excited. His face turned red, and his eyes were full of craziness. "What wonderful prey you are! That blood of his smells so good." The black-robed man's voice was heard by members on the spaceship. They frowned, feeling the coming danger. Jian Wushuang was also alarmed. He had already felt the craziness in the man's eyes. Obviously, the black-robed man was coming for him. King of Venomous Worms said to Jian Wushuang, "You are in danger now. I think that man is from the Sky-Devouring clan." Sky-Devouring clan. Jian Wushuang was reminded immediately of two Sky-Devouring clan descendants he met in his hometown of the Green Fire World. The patriarch of Empyrean glory and his son Emperor Yuan. He had heard from King of Venomous Worms about the Sky-Devouring clan. Chapter 1348, Duan Lingfeng's Choice. Chapter 1348, Duan Lingfeng's Choice. Sky-Devouring clan. It's one of the top clans in Eternal Chaotic World. They feed on exotic beasts' blood. They are overbearing with almost no natural enemy. Plus, a pure Sky-Devouring clan is born with natural senses towards certain blood lineages. I reckon the Sky Devourer before you could sense your ancient god blood flowing in you. That's why he rushed over. The royal ancient god blood is extremely attractive for the Sky-Devouring clan. Hence, he wants to kill you now and consume your ancient god blood, King of Venomous Worms said in a serious voice. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes, and he saw madness and greed in the eyes of the man in black robe. On the spaceship, Yuan saw that the man in the black robe didn't respond for so long. He bellowed, "Mister, if you do not move aside, please do not blame me for not being polite." "Impolite? Hee. I'd like to see how impolite you can be." The man in the black robe laughed maliciously. At the same time, there was a terrifying power erupting from his body. The strong aura exceeded the scope of an ordinary universe god in the third heaven. It was almost at the level of a peak universe god in the third heaven. Peak universe god in the third heaven. Every cultivator on the spaceship gasped simultaneously. Jian Wushuang's face grew grave. In the ranking of universe gods, every level makes a huge difference. An ordinary universe god in the third heaven and a peak universe god in the third heaven was two entirely different concepts. Plus, the man in the black robe before him was a member of the Sky-Devouring clan. With the power of his blood lineage, he was definitely a scary one among peak universe god in the third heaven. Jian Wushuang reckoned that the man in black robe was much scarier compared to the universe god in the third heaven from Snow Dojo, Lingfeng. Although there was some difference, it wouldn't be too far off. Such an expert, Jian Wushuang wouldn't be able to deal with in his current state. Even though they were in this troop, even though there was an expert like Duan Lingfeng, they might not be able to win against an expert at such level. Hee, human cultivator. The man in the black robe smiled maliciously, and his voice spread. "I am only interested in one of you. Hand over that person to me, and the rest of you can leave." He only wants one person. He's not interested in us. Would one of us be his enemy? He chased us all the way here. It stirred a commotion on the spaceship. Yuan took a deep breath and asked, "I wonder who you are looking for." "It's him," the man in black robe pointed from afar. Everyone looked at the direction the man in black robe was pointing at and saw Jian Wushuang. "It's Jian Wushuang. It's him. The universe god in the third heaven came for him." The universe gods looked at Jian Wushuang under a different light. Brother Wushuang, Luo Hai and Luo Yu looked worried. As the leader of the troop, Yuan looked at Jian Wushuang for a very long time until he said in a cold voice, "Jian Wushuang, I'm sorry, please leave the spaceship." Everyone's gaze turned cold. At such a crucial moment, everyone seemed to have made a decision. Give him Jian Wushuang. Fickleness of human nature. Jian Wushuang saw and laughed at himself, but wasn't surprised. In the eternal chaotic world, it was extremely cruel and cold. Previously, when Jian Wushuang revealed his decent fighting power, the troop of universe gods accepted him delightedly. However, when a strong enemy came and made clear that he wanted Jian Wushuang, the universe gods gave him up without hesitation in order to protect themselves. After all, they didn't build any relationship with Jian Wushuang. They were merely a troop that was temporarily formed in order to pass through ancient Star Sea. It was only normal that the universe gods wasn't willing to risk their lives to save Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang didn't bother to blame them. Then Jian Wushuang slowly walked towards the exit of the spaceship. Just as he walked, he quickly communicated with the King of Venomous Worms. "King of Venomous Worms, you told me previously that there were many kinds in Sky Devouring Clan. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, who I met back, then was a Sky Devourer bat. Chapter 1147, Going All Out. Chapter 1147, Going All Out. Let's go all out," Tianhuan King and Golden Rock King said while nodding solemnly. "I'll go first, and you two will make sneak attacks against him once you get a chance." With these words, Tianyin King rushed rapidly forward like a fleeting phantom. As he moved forward, he somehow split into 10 Tianyin Kings. Jian Wushuang immediately opened his scarlet eye and used his strength of soul to detect these 10 Tianyin Kings. The next moment, his countenance became grim as he exclaimed in his heart, "What? They're real bodies instead of illusionary ones." His scarlet eye secret skill enabled him to tell illusionary things from real ones, but he failed to find any defect in the 10 Tianyin Kings. That meant all of them were the universe master's real bodies. Each of the 10 Tianyin Kings held a long black whip in hand, which looked like a big python. They surrounded Jian Wushuang and then attacked him simultaneously. Swoosh! 10 black long whips were flung toward him at the same time. They looked like 10 big flying pythons, rushing toward him and planning to wrap themselves around him. Soon enough, they besieged Jian Wushuang. He saw them blot out the sky and cover up the earth in an instant, leaving no gap for him to escape. What an amazing technique! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in his heart. Tianyin King might not be able to compete with Golden Rock King in terms of battle strength, but he was clearly much faster and nimbler than the latter. He was particularly adept at trapping his opponent. Even a universe master could hardly escape from his grasp. However, the fact that a universe master was unable to get rid of those whips did not necessarily mean that Jian Wushuang could not do that. "Go, blaze quicksand!" Jian Wushuang growled and released his blaze quicksand. In a split second, a violent storm of sand and green flames arose and expanded, tearing the black big pythons into pieces. After smashing the big pythons to pieces, the blaze quicksand rushed toward the 10 Tianyin Kings. "Humph!" Jian Wushuang snorted. The next moment, one of the 10 Tianyin Kings gave a grunt and ran toward Golden Rock King and Tianhuan King in panic as the other 9 kings suddenly dispersed. "Fuck, what treasure does he have?" Tianyin King blurted out while keeping a straight face and staring at the blaze quicksand around Jian Wushuang. "It must be a treasure which can summon some kind of realm," Golden Rock King said with a frown. Tianhuan King, I'll use my blood-deadly longbow to distract him, and you can use your killing move to finish him off once you get a chance." "Got it." Tianhuan King nodded solemnly and said. Golden Rock King snorted with contempt and then summoned a fierce-looking red longbow. It stood as tall as an adult and looked very aggressive. "What's that?" Jian Wushuang's face slightly changed, as the red longbow's aura seemed quite dangerous. "Jian Wushuang, I think that longbow is a blood-deadly longbow. It's a chaos magic treasure, and its fame has spread far and wide in the eternal chaotic world. The most powerful people in that world, who recruited experts for their armies, would only equip their most elite soldiers with such longbows. It's a powerful weapon. Be careful," said Gu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang stepped up his vigilance, his pupils constricted. In the meantime, Golden Rock King put one foot back on the void and then shifted his weight to this back leg. He channeled nearly all his powers into his arms, but was only able to slightly pull back the string of the bow. "What?" Gu King could not help scoffing at the Universe Master, while thinking, is that all he can do? He only managed to slightly draw the string back. It seems that his powers aren't enough to fully activate this blood-deadly longbow. The next moment, Golden Rock King released the string. Shoo! A flowing red light instantly pierced through the void and flew toward Jian Wushuang. Even though Golden Rock King was unable to bring the longbow's powers into full play, the flowing red light it shot out still looked extremely aggressive and ferocious. More importantly, it was amazingly fast. It seemed to have approached Jian Wushuang in a split second,